Website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, at southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
Bad decisions.
That was not a smart move on your end, sir.
And the same bad result that you can only watch here.
Am I getting through to you at all?
An all-new season of Cops. New episodes, Fridays on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
Bad boys, bad boys.
Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Monday, March 20th, the first day of spring. This is the Fox News Rundown. The leaders of China and Russia will meet today in Moscow for the first time since Russian forces launched an invasion of Ukraine last year. New York is preparing for unrest ahead of former President Donald Trump's possible indictment in Manhattan this week for alleged hush money payments made to porn star Stormy Daniels. California expected to get hit with another atmospheric river today. Heavy rain expected in much of the state, 2 to 4 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains. A Senate panel will hear testimony this week from Norfolk Southern Railroad's chief executive as it looks into safety following the toxic train derailment in Ohio. Members of the Federal Reserve begin a 2-day meeting Tuesday to decide whether or not to continue rate hikes for interest rates. And the National Cherry Blossom Festival kicks off today in Washington, D.C. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Colombo and Katie.
Monday, Tony Colombo is back from Disney World, and we'll catch up with him on what exactly he did, what did he see, what rides did he ride with James, and how was it visiting DeSantis land.
Weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Dr. Robert Malone.
In my attempt to make sense out of this whole crazy, messed up, I can come up with a lot of words for messed up.
Don't you cuss on this here radio.
CNN is my favorite.
Don't you cuss on this here radio.
Yeah. Be really careful.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Life insurance is one of those things that just about everybody needs, but few people actually have. Hey, if you die unexpectedly without life insurance, guess what? You'll leave your family with even a bigger mess. Life insurance will help replace your family's income. It'll help cover burial expenses. Life insurance can even help pay off debt like credit cards and medical bills. Life insurance can even pay for college. And if you own a business and you die, life insurance can help your business from collapsing. It can even help cover estate taxes. Life insurance has never been more affordable and needed. Plus, you can always shop around even if you have a plan and save some money. So call the Life Insurance Quote Line right now for free pricing information.
800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. 800-979-3060. That's 800-979-3060.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with irony.
News, analysis, opinion.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, no question there is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits and all kinds of great content. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. On this Monday, life is not fair and then you die. That is the cliche. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that if you live in the United States of America. Number one, our chief benefit here is a Constitution that allows many of us, I think most of us, to pursue happiness. We have a shot at putting together a life that is satisfying and rewarding if we follow the rules. You got to work hard, you got to be honest, you've got to get educated. Those are the rules, or learn a trade. If you can fix something, you're going to make a good living. Anyway, so we do have opportunity, and many of us enjoy ourselves. But the downside is very few Americans prepare for the worst. And the worst is going to happen to you. It's just inevitable because life isn't fair and then you die. What you have to do is anticipate illness and therefore put together a good medical team, a physician you can get on the phone who cares about you, medical insurance that you can rely on, all right? A team of people who can come over to your house should you need them. This is just one thing. You've got to anticipate that bad things are going to happen and think about how to protect yourself against those bad things. Now this. Many timeshare owners upset their yearly dues continue to increase. Lone Star Transfer is the only company you can trust guaranteeing the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. They've helped more than 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out. So start off the new year right with a free no-obligation consultation, 855-551-7066 or LoneStarTransfer.com. LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold, in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know, one of the things that we work really hard at doing here at News Talk STL is telling you about the candidates who, frankly, represent what we want to see done in public policy, in politics. And that's not just in a partisan race. You remember about a year ago, we worked really hard to tell you about Izzy Emig, and she was running for the Rockwood School Board, and she got elected, and she's doing some really good work there in her position. She is delivering. She's following through. And just this past week, news came out that she's getting hate mail, harassment, and even to a lot of people, she's getting some threats to her, all because of where she stands and all because she wants more accountability and she wants a better set of values and ethics in public education. So we caught up with Izzy on Friday and got the update from her on the investigation into what her family's been put through, but also about what this means to her as she pushes forward trying to make her community better. This is something that anybody who's wanting to get involved in local public service at all should pay attention to, because if you're on the right side of things, you're going to deal with some very, very wrong behavior from those that disagree with us. Here's what Izzy had to say. Izzy, thanks for the time this morning. We were talking yesterday about the news report about that handwritten postcard that was sent to your home that had obviously a bunch of hateful stuff, a bunch of vulgar stuff on it. And we'll get to that in just a second, Izzy. But what's the update as we understand it right now when it comes to trying to find out who actually sent it? Because we'll talk about the threat aspect of it in a minute. My understanding is now the U.S. Postal Service police have been called in as well. So at the very least, it's being taken very seriously.
Oh, yeah, it is taken very seriously. I mean, if you think about it, it came through the mail system, and that's just right there is a federal crime, you know? So it's not just the police. I'm working with the police. I'm working with the, federal agents and then the Postal Service to figure out who is sending those things. And I can tell you that this is not the first postcard I received so far.
Good morning, Izzy. Gabe Pfeiffer here. What has the law enforcement had to say about any of this? How's the investigation going? What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, they are investigating, all the threats that are coming in right now. I can't really tell you a whole lot other than they're working on it, Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Izzy, now, a lot of the contents, I mean, that was all over the news, and we talked about it here. And getting a note from somebody who doesn't like you, calls you names, and even the vulgarities of it, that's one thing. I mean, that's bad, but that's not necessarily, criminal. I think a lot of people don't understand why certain things that were said in that, referencing Saddam Hussein's sons and things like that, why that would be looked at as a threat instead of just somebody being a jerk. Tell us about that just a little bit, because I think there were some people who said, well, man, that was awful what they said to you, but why could that be construed as an actual physical threat?
I mean, if you ask any Iraqi immigrant and even any U.S. soldier who served overseas in Iraq, they'll tell you the severity of using Saddam or Saddam's sons. Saddam's sons were literally known for kidnapping girls, taking girls, or just go and take some girls and those girls disappear for life, So it's just the author of this particular postcard knew exactly what they were doing. They know exactly what they're saying in that card. Using Saddam's sons, basically telling me that I should have been killed.
How is your family doing? My understanding is that one of your children actually ran out to grab the mail that day and actually saw this, because it wasn't in a letter, it was in a postcard, so they're going to be able to read it right away. How's your family doing?
My family, we're okay right now. The time my daughters, they were still frightened, they saw the police, come into my house multiple times now. My oldest daughter, who is only 13 years old, read the entire thing, and she is terrified, She's even terrified to go anywhere or even dropping her off at practices by herself or anything like that. I have to stay with her, what they did to my children, it is true active terrorism. That is a true act of terrorism, what they did to my kids. It's one thing, to come at me, challenge me all you want, but my home is the line that you do not cross at all. Imagine having to sit down with a 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old and explain to them what's actually going on, And, of course, we didn't tell the littles, as much as we told the oldest, because she actually saw it. So we explained to them we did have security. We do have security. So we have to explain to them why we have security. We have to explain to them why the police was there multiple times. It really is taking a toll on my children.
Now, Izzy, this isn't a one-off. You've been threatened, at least on some level, or at least received a lot of hate and harassment for a long time, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Since the day I filed, just about the harassment started, oh, she's backed by the conservative, blah, blah, blah. And they made it into this political thing. The reason I ran, because I care about our children. I care about what's going on, but they made it this big political thing, which is, again, my personal politics have nothing to do with me as a board member. In fact, I ran on removing politics from the classroom. You know what I mean? If you remember my campaign. And here they are making it all political and now involving my own children.
We're visiting with Izzy Imig, member of the Rockwood Public School Board. Izzy, let me follow up with that right there. Obviously, this is targeted at you and by extension your family, but also at the same time, could somebody say that this could be a message to other people who want to reform and shape up school districts and get the politics and the critical theories and all the stuff that is happening in a lot of public school districts? Could this be perceived as a message and a warning to other people who want to make things better? Don't tread in our turf.
1,000%. I was actually, just a little, I didn't want to release the threat. The first threat obviously took me a minute. When I received the second one, I was still hesitant, whether I release it or not, because I was worried about the board members and I didn't want them to, be afraid to run or whatnot. But then when things escalated a bit, and this is where I was just, I am done. I got to come, forward with this. And, I talked to a couple of people, and a lot of times people get threats, and we keep them to ourselves, right? But this, I'm just so done to the point where, you know what? If these, you have to run for the right reasons. They have to see what's actually going on, the lengths these people will take. So this is why I decided to just release everything, and just show the people what's actually going on.
So, update us on what you've been doing in the school board, or how the school board has been running since you've gone on there. What have you seen? What are you guys working on, and where, and how can we help?
Honestly, what's good? I feel like Dr. Kenwich, he took the threats also very seriously. I'm very grateful for that. He's been doing a great job, since he got on, board or got to Rockwood, and things have been changing, drastically to just the positive way that things are coming in, very positive. I do have to say I did have some running with one of the board members, and I'm sure you saw that email that we released, because it just, again, to me, it shows they're so used to having, some of them used to having their own way, that they're willing to manipulate or bully others to have, the votes that they want. You know what I mean? That's at least how I took it. So things are really going great, I believe, since I got on board and going towards a lot of positive things are happening. And people just need to let it be, let us do our jobs. I mean, I was elected to serve our community, our students, and our educators, and I'm doing that. And those people need to stop,
Yeah, now there's obviously Brockwood and a bunch of other school districts. They have elections coming up, and that's one of the things that we keep telling people is, listen, the April elections, those school board elections are absolutely crucial to local communities. People think of presidential races and U.S. Senate races, and definitely those are important, but these are absolutely crucial. In the last minute or so, we've got Izzy. We're talking to Izzy Emig from the Rockwood School Board. I know there's a lot more to do. There's a lot that a lot of people, who listen to this station are frustrated about when it comes to public schools and the indoctrination and the quality issues and everything that goes along with that. But when you couple that with essentially I guess a don't you dare tread on us type of thing, to the point where people are willing to do threats. And the police said, and I know this is no surprise, that the signature and the name on that card was a fictitious name. Somebody just made up a name because they're a coward. Somebody's going to do something like this as a coward. How do we change that narrative and that conversation? I know you and I have, talked a little bit over the time you've been in office, and I think there have been times it looks to me like some other members who see things totally different have looked at the work you're doing and went, oh, yeah, that is a good point. And so maybe there are ways where changes can be made, but when people are willing to resort to harassment and everything you're dealing with, they don't want that conversation. So how do we get from where we are to where we need to be?
Honestly, right now, like you said it earlier perfectly, this coming school election is very crucial. It's even more important than mine, So people need to do their homework. They need to go out and vote. It's beyond important, this upcoming election. If they want to see more positive change, they need to go out and vote.
Got your News Talk STL Morning News Roundup coming your way in just about 4 minutes right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
On Monday, we'll review your broken brackets and what has Biden busted. At 4:25, U.S. Senator Jim Talent. At 5:25, Susie Moore, Red State.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Weekdays at 3:30
on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Freedom isn't just a word. It should be a way of life for all Missourians. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a state where you're free from excessive taxes, regulations, and corporate handouts, and free to send your children to the school of your choice? That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can progress to a bright future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to health care, and more. Our vision is for Missouri to be a place where entrepreneurs can pursue their dreams. Parents are free to direct the education of their children, and a growing economy provides opportunities for all. Critical to achieving this vision is a government that understands the value of freedom in the lives and future of our people. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Well, Donald Trump says he's going to be arrested this week.
Wow, good morning.
Jeez, that's not typically how you start a Monday. I don't know if he's going to, but that's obviously got everybody kind of in a buzz right now. We'll get to that here shortly. Some Republicans continue to work against tax cuts in Jefferson City. Wait a minute, Republicans? No, that can't be. Yeah,
Is that a misprint?
Some Republicans continue to work against tax cuts in Jefferson City.
Wow.
Yeah.
You sure that's not a misprint?
I double checked.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. The same Republicans who worked against a bigger income tax cut in the last special session. And for some reason, they're being treated like they should have influence. Why are the people listening to a government-first Republican? I don't know. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And Team USA relied heavily on Redbirds to advance to the World Championship. World Baseball Classic, baby. Good stuff. Unfortunately, Nolan Arenado got hurt.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he got hit by a pitch. But nothing's broken, so he just got to heal up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Stel Ponticus. It is 5:49. All right, Donald Trump kicked off a firestorm over the weekend saying he's going to be arrested this week, possibly as soon as tomorrow. Now, there's no confirmation of this, at least not at the moment, but there's also no denial of that from the New York District Attorney that Donald Trump mentioned as well. Mike Pence was asked about this on ABC's This Week, and here's what he had to say.
Time when there's a crime wave in New York City that...
I don't know why my soundbite started halfway through.
I'm taken aback at the idea of indicting a former president of the United States. At a time when there's a crime wave in New York City, that the fact that the Manhattan DA thinks that indicting President Trump is his top priority, I think, just tells you everything you need to know about the radical left in this country.
And this all has to do with the payments that Michael Cohen made to the porn star / hooker, I guess porn star, same thing, whatever, for
Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels, to keep quiet about her tryst with Donald Trump.
Alleged tryst, yeah.
Sure, we'll say alleged.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what this is all about. Is it's complicated, it's nuanced. To 6:35, we're going to talk to Susie more about that. Red State's all over this, as you would expect. And so, I mean, the bottom line is that Donald Trump put something out, says, I want everybody to, if this happens, protest nationwide, which is highly irresponsible. Don't do it. That's my opinion. And
well, you can do it and not do anything else other than protest. I mean, Americans have a right to protest.
You've got a right to protest. It would be a really bad idea in this case.
It may be, but
yeah. You got a right to do it.
Yeah.
People protest for any reasons out there.
There were a ton of folks out in New York City yesterday. I saw photos of thousands of people in downtown New York City protesting already.
Well, good for them,
yeah.
I guess. I mean,
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's incredibly risky. To me, it's like, don't take the bait. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Don't take the bait. That's it. But we'll get into that here in just a little bit as well. About 2,000 people gathered in the Owensville High School gym on Sunday to attend the memorial services for Herman Detective Sergeant Mason Griffith. Griffith, as you know, was killed in the line of duty about a week ago. So multiple communities, because he actually worked in more than one community in law enforcement. So multiple communities saying their goodbyes. He was laid to rest. And so now at this point, it's up to the prosecutors to make the case, for the man who killed him and shot his partner. But that was a very, very full full gymnasium, which
It was full.
Yeah.
And, the news reports that said it was very solemn. It was not solemn. I watched the whole thing. It was really a celebration of his life.
Oh, okay.
And it was very upfront about his commitment to Christ about a month ago.
Okay.
He had accepted Jesus. It was a real big change in his life.
Mhm.
And the captain of the police force talked about that and had the Bible that Mason had over the last few months. And it was a very upbeat celebration, so I wouldn't have called it solemn.
Okay.
I mean, there were serious parts
Well,
to
sure,
it.
yeah. I mean, a police officer was killed in the line of
Sure.
duty. There's going to be, absolutely.
Yeah, there were very emotional and some humorous parts, too.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like, whenever my time is coming, the last thing that I want is for everybody to be like sad for days and days and days. Not that I think there would be people that sad when my time comes, because a lot of people will be just fine with it. But I do not want people, I want it to be, something that people leave with something to smile about, at least. Yeah. Okay. This is interesting. A St. Louis alderwoman says her opponent should not be on the ballot. Yeah. 11th Ward Alderwoman Laura Keyes is suing over Carla Coffey, as she's known as Coffey Wright, her place on the April ballot because Alderwoman Keyes claims Wright is lying about her residence and doesn't even live in the new district. Here's what she said to KMOV.
It's not fair to the people of this city that someone should be able to run in a race who is not qualified.
Yeah, so I'll get into the details of this at 6:20. And you would normally say, well, they just consolidated a district. The lines are a little different now. Give a little bit. That's not what Alderwoman Keyes is arguing. She's saying that there's dishonesty as far as like falsifying paperwork to make a case for living in a ward. And I'll tell you why around 6:20. This is actually a little more interesting because there's always somebody who complains about something on the residency, and sometimes they're telling the truth and sometimes they're not. But this is an interesting multi-page lawsuit with a lot of documentation in it. Carla Coffey Wright, you see her signs all over St. Louis for years. She runs for something like every time. And she was one of those who had the megaphone, justice for Kim Gardner, our street, whose streets, our streets. She's one of these radical, like, crazy type.
She like the Bill Haas of today. Remember Bill Haas?
Yeah, I remember
used to
Bill
run
Haas,
for run for all sorts of different positions.
Oh, he ran for Congress. He ran for everything. Yeah. So she's just like constantly running, but she's also one of those that's like out in the streets and stuff like that. She's really far. She has not responded to KMOV's questions about the lawsuit as well. So that's interesting. All right. The Missouri legislature goes back to work this week as their spring break is over. Multiple reports say the effort to eliminate sales taxes on groceries is in trouble. It is stalling because of opposition from some Republicans. Again, Republicans who say that would cost local and state governments too much money and revenue. Good thing inflation is so low right now, Republicans.
Man.
Lincoln Hoff, that's who it is. Only 13 states in the country charge any sales tax on groceries. 13. Missouri's one of the 13. And so there's a proposal by Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman, who is, she's friend of the station. She says, why are we... Other states don't do this. They get by just fine. We've got record revenues right now, record coffers. Let's cut sales taxes on something everybody has to buy. And there are Republicans who say, no, government may lose too much money on this. Man, that makes me mad. All right, but we're going to talk to Tony Lovasco around 7:05 here as well, get the update on what's happening in Jefferson City. All right, Team USA. Really glad to have so many Cardinals on it for the World Baseball Classic. Holy cow. Paul Goldschmidt hit a 2-run homer to give the United States the first lead of the game last night. Nolan Arenado tripled later in the game, driving in Paul Goldschmidt. Adam Wainwright, he had a rough first inning, but he got out of it, only gave up 1 run. He pitched 4 innings in all as Team USA got the win, beating Team Cuba 14-2 in Miami. Wainwright pitched 4 innings, like I said. Miles Michaelis pitched the next 4 innings. So at any given time, a third of Team USA were St. Louis Cardinals. The U.S. advances to the championship game against the winner of tonight's game that is happening between Mexico and Japan. Regardless of who wins that game, that is going to be a very tough game.
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of the game against Cuba, considering it was in Miami,
yes,
I wonder what the crowd was like. How many Cuban supporters were there?
Oh, the Cuban team got jeered. got jeered by the Cubans in there. But I think that's remarkable if you think about it. Like that dawned on me last night, Stell. Team Cuba playing in Miami. I don't know how long it's been since Team Cuba played in the U.S. at all. Oh, man. All right, let's talk the whole Donald Trump situation here, 6:05. I know you got thoughts on that.
The flow of information.
This week on News Talk STL.
Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe.
News, analysis, opinion.
What is currently happening?
They were one of the most woke banks.
They'll probably get away with it.
Poor management on behalf of SVB.
Does DHS have operational control?
No, sir. It is so profoundly offensive.
Unsafe actions by Russian pilots.
This was international space.
101.9 and 94.1.
The Biden administration sucks.
News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
It's time to spring into green with Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Don't miss this opportunity to save $2,000 and receive 0% financing on select John Deere compact tractor packages. Built to handle any challenges that lie ahead, choose from our All-American, Mississippi Queen, Bulldog, or Homesteader packages. Visit ascentpartners.com for more information. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 3/31/23. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. Republicans are lining up to condemn the potential indictment of former President Trump by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, suggesting it's a stunning case of hypocrisy and another attempt to keep Mr. Trump from winning back the White House. The banking industry's woes resulting in major stock market volatility worldwide. Washington, meanwhile, trying to figure out how best to respond to the abrupt failure of two U.S. banks.
Lawmakers are up in arms over the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, and they're questioning what went wrong. President Biden is urging Congress to strengthen the rules for banks to prevent more failures, but Republicans say the laws are already in place to sufficiently prevent failures if only regulators would do their job. The first of several hearings on the bank failures is scheduled for March 29th. Ken Lorman reporting.
And Swiss banking giant UBS buying its troubled rival Credit Suisse for close to $3.25 billion. New York Community Bank will shell out $2.7 billion for failed Signature Bank. With Russia-China relations warming, their ties strengthening in the Biden era, Chinese President Xi is in Moscow for meetings with Russia's Putin. The National Security Council's John Kirby says the U.S. does not want China to try to broker a Ukraine ceasefire.
Ratify Russia's conquest to date. All that's going to do is give Mr. Putin more time to refit, retrain, remand, and try to plan for renewed offensives at a time of his choosing. We hope, and we've said this before, that President Xi will call and talk to President Zelensky because we believe that Chinese need to get the Ukrainian perspective here.
Kirby speaking on Fox News Sunday. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures 14 points higher, NASDAQ futures up 6.5 points, S&P futures better by 3 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief, thank the pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need. Indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Bible.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
We'll continue our enduring support for Ukraine.
China should not provide support.
What happened at the train crash? The people of East Palestine, you are not forgotten.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
I am a young, vibrant man.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman. Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up!
We can't rebuild our economy and meet this climate crisis.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, is Donald Trump getting arrested this week or not? If he is, should you heed his call to protest? That's where we're going to start here in a few minutes.
The clock's ticking.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. Is it? I mean, this is all of this is going on because Donald Trump posted something on his Truth Social. The DA isn't talking other than like internal memos saying we're not going to change what we're doing because of pressure and everything. So I don't know. I mean, there is activity happening that indicates that something's in the works. But there's no confirmation of anything. That's not to say it won't happen. By the way, News Talk STL on Rumble. It is not just live streaming, my friends. We also have extra videos that get posted there from time to time, but we really do have a lot of live streaming that happens out there. So check that out. I need to bring up Rumble. I'll get that going here so I can follow the chats. Waving at everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble right now.
We're rumbling. We're rumbling.
If you're listening to us on over the air, I'm waving at you as well. You just can't see it. All right. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Pontigas here. All right. So like I said, Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. And then he also calls for nationwide protests if that happens, which I think is unbelievably irresponsible. And I'll tell you why I think you should not take the bait on that here in just a minute. Okay, so obviously this was the big topic of a lot of the talking head shows on Sunday. Ed Cox is the Republican Party chairman in the state of New York. And he says he believes the case is being used by Trump's political enemies to undercut his 2024 campaign.
That's Trump derangement syndrome at work. I mean, they're grandstanding on it. They haven't looked at the case. They don't understand it.
I actually think that's correct. I think this is 100%, if it happens, 100% nakedly political and is absolutely going after Trump because people hate Trump. And I think there are different layers of nuance as to what could be, and people tend to run down a long rabbit hole. So we'll just maybe run down a little rabbit hole.
Little rabbit hole.
Hold on to this.
Okay.
But we're going to talk to Susie Moore from redstate.com at 6:35 about this. So what what you've got here is just drama on a huge scale. And Gabe, so many things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, this is not over the Mar-a-Lago stuff.
Right.
Okay, so
that's my understanding. Anyway.
Right. This is not over the Mar-a-Lago stuff. This is in New York City, New York State. The Mar-a-Lago stuff, I know that there's other things that somebody's trying to do or not trying to do. This is not about the Georgia investigations as well, where he's accused of trying to do stuff with the election. So this is about the Stormy Daniels
payoff.
Hush money.
The hush money.
The hush money.
Yeah, that's the best way to frame that. Yeah.
That's what this is about here. I have heard it reported that it could be, a high-level misdemeanor. I've heard it reported it could be a low-level felony. But what I think just about everybody agrees with is that it is, legally speaking, a long shot, which tells me, obviously, it's just about politics. Even a number of even a number of Trump's, opponents, whether it's just campaign or people who just don't like him, they're even admitting, this is all politics.
Yeah, it's kind of a nothing burger, but its wrapping is just so bright and shiny that we're all just kind of jumping on top of it. It's like, oh my gosh, something's about to happen. It's going to happen. And I think Trump, to his credit, I think what he's doing, though, is he's using it as a rallying cry, which, from a political perspective, that's probably the right way to play it. It's like, hey, if you get inklings that somebody's about to do something to you, well, how best can I turn this in my favor? So he's making a go for it, and he's getting a lot of new support bubbling up. It seems that way.
Well, or renewed from people who may have cooled off and moved on to something else.
Yeah, renewed is probably the best way to categorize that. And it's an easy rallying point because we don't like injustice. Or in terms of trumped up charges, pun intended, or things like that. We already have this innate distrust now at this point of the three-letter agencies and the a justice system that seems bent on destroying anybody who doesn't toe an absolute Marxist leftist line. So if we see somebody getting put under it, we're gonna jump. We're going to jump in on some level, and I think he's taking advantage of that, as he should. But I don't think we should take the bait and really go whole hog and say, oh my gosh, that's the end of the republic, because that's where they're gonna. I think they're trying to create a new January 6th because they need a new bludgeon to hit us over the head with in the next election cycle.
Yeah, I agree. Don't take the bait. I think Donald Trump was 100% irresponsible for posting that, but hey, he does what he does,
Yeah. It's a free country. He has free speech. He can be a doofus if he wants to.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's had plenty of doofus moments.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
You're not wrong.
I would think even the most ardent supporters will say he never does anything wrong. But I think a lot of people, even who like him, like his policies, like he was president, they would agree with that. And they're like, I just wish he would stop making me cringe so much. But when he's, calling for nationwide protest, I think that's really irresponsible. The fact of the matter is that every time anybody on the right talks about January 6th, whoever's talking about on the right loses in the court of public opinion. And that's, there's
Sadly,
no other way to look at it.
That's where politics is.
Yeah, that's where the politics is. There's absolutely zero reason to keep talking about January 6th whatsoever, in my opinion, if you were on the right at all. But something like this is kind of a bubbling hotbed that could explode into anything. And then obviously the whole new round of conspiracy theories comes with it and everything that goes with it. And the thing is that when you look at all of this bizarre, convoluted case with the porn star, with Stormy Daniels or whatever her real name is, because I'm pretty sure it's not Stormy, but who knows? I don't know.
What
But
her real name is? No, that's
I
not her real
don't
name.
know. I don't care enough to look it up. But
I think she used to do the weather in New York City.
right, yeah. Oh my goodness. And so, do you really want to get into the whole, his extramarital affairs over the course of his life and all of this kind of stuff, and then the accusations of the hush money and all this kind of stuff, and so if you take the bait and you're like, I'm going to hit the streets and protest because of Donald Trump and defend Donald Trump, what are you accomplishing here?
But the fact of the matter is, he is the leading candidate right now.
He is, yeah.
In the opposition party to the folks that are running the regime in Washington. And so as far as many supporters are concerned, this is going to turn into another proof that we've become a banana republic. You're going to arrest the individual who's heading up the major opposition to you. That's what happens in third world countries and in banana republics. And I think that's the viewpoint that some folks have from the right.
Yeah, I think part of the thing is, though, that the right way to go about pushing back, I think, is to call your representative. At this point, I think this and not just, even if your representative, the one who's representing your area, your district, or whatever, is not in your party, call them anyway.
Yeah. Or dive headfirst into the campain in your state.
Yeah, become one of the foot soldiers in the campaign. But the thing is, the protests aren't going to do anything. I've never been one to protest. Yeah. Mainly because I see that, since the 60s, they've been largely just ineffective, photo ops. It's like, oh, look how many people support this thing. The politicians don't care. Back in the 60s, the uprising of people kind of out of their homes into the streets was new. It was like they didn't never really seen something like that before. So it actually carried some sort of manner of political weight, because it said, hey, if people are ginned up enough to go do this, maybe there's something to what their message is, right? And there were discernible goals. There were leaders that could be talked to, brought in. Nowadays, since then, protest has just been performative into my eyes. You go out, you scream about something, and then you kind of disperse. Now, it's our right to do it.
Yeah,
it's constitutional, actually.
Right.
But I don't think it's effective, and that's kind of, I want to win. So I want to do effective things.
Well, I think it was effective on the left. If you look at Weather Underground and Black Panthers, from my perspective, they essentially infiltrated the Democratic Party.
Oh.
And we've seen a lot
It wasn't their protest that did that, though.
But they were protesting back then.
But yeah, it wasn't the protest that got them into the circles, though.
Well, the years went by, and
that's what I'm getting at. So
I understand.
It was being on somebody's doorstep who has an office, who has who has influence. That was what got them into the presence of, and that's what I'm saying right now. If you're really upset about this, talk to your congressperson, talk to your state reps, talk to anybody you can and everybody you can, because your voice is actually a lot louder than you think it is.
Well, and in this case right here, you're talking about a district attorney, who in theory they are immune or in a bubble from politics. Now we know that's not actually true.
That's not true.
That's crap to
to
say that.
Yeah.
But you can protest all day long, and up in Minnesota, people were threatening and protesting outside of jurors' homes.
Right.
That's not legitimate protest.
No.
In this case right here, you can have all the people protesting in New York, and that's not going to change what the indictment process is. And it looks like that there is something in the works as far as indictments go there. And again, I'm not talking about Florida or Georgia. I'm talking about New York right here.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case right here, talk about performative. That's really what everything in every aspect on every side of this is right now, is nothing but performative. And the funny part is after the raid at the home in Mar-a-Lago for Trump stuff, the whole country kind of went, really? And the people who orchestrated the raid looked dumb. One of the reasons is because the entire country was generally going, and I'm talking about the non-political folks, were like, that's really stupid.
Yes.
And so let that happen, because if Donald Trump's indicted because of the so-called hush money that went indirectly or directly to Stormy Daniels. We all know Trump's personal behaviors in this area over the course of his 3 marriages.
Sure.
We know that. It's not shocking to somebody that this happened. This story's been around since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just kind of let the natural reaction go, it's
whatever.
Trump, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it hurts him. I don't know that it helps him, but it certainly makes his opponents look petty again.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, since the 90s, since Clinton, essentially, the American public has decided, you know what, all this stuff is too much to add on top of the policy issues that we have with any particular president. So their personal issues, even if they're, paying people off to keep quiet, is like, I kind of don't care as much as I probably should or I used to back in the day. So the thing is, at this point in 2023, when we went through that whole, it's like really, is this where we need to go now? Is this how we're going to conduct our politics?
And social media exacerbates everything.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Amplifies everything too.
We didn't have that to deal with in the past, going all the way back to John Kennedy and others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, some drama brewing in one of the aldermanic races in St. Louis. And then, by the way, we're following up on this at 6:35 with Susie Moore from Red State. They were really busy covering this over the weekend, so you can see multiple articles at Red State. But Susie's going to be with us here in about 15 minutes or so on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fence Works. STL Fence Works is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL Fence Works has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL Fence Works is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL Fence Works is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL Fence Works is maintenance-free decking. STL Fence Works is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL Fence Works make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL Fence Works, your satisfaction is our passion.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo reminding you to do what we did and get the jump on spring cleaning by calling Zero Res today. After the beating dished out by kids, the dog, and just general traffic, our home would not be the same without Zero Res. And right now, you can get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119. Plus, they'll throw in a free hallway and take $75 off an air duct cleaning if you just mention the Colombo special. Call and book now at 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. Recently, I remarked on the value of congressional hearings, even if repercussions for any wrongdoing exposed may not be immediate or obvious. One of the key committees conducting investigations into potential wrongdoing by Biden family members, including possibly the president himself, is chaired by Kentucky Rep. James Comer. So far, Joe Biden hasn't really been pressed to provide explanations for, well, honestly, much of anything. For instance, what about those classified documents found scattered about his offices and residences? Remember those? Joe's largely hand-waved those away, just an oversight. Never mind that he questioned how anyone could be that irresponsible regarding Donald Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents. Last week, the Treasury Department finally agreed to turn over records regarding the 150-some-odd suspicious activity reports generated by the Biden family. Then came additional revelations from the committee regarding bank records showing payments to 4 Biden family members from a Chinese energy company shortly after Biden left the vice presidency, including Hunter, James, Hallie, and a mystery Biden to be named later. Will Joe attempt to waive those payments away as well? Were those just oversights, too? Let's hope the committee lives up to both parts of its name, oversight and accountability.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Maybe the only good song from Extreme.
I think you said that last week about another band.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, is this the only song that I like from this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right, drama in one of St. Louis's aldermanic races. Where does Carla Coffey actually live? This is really bizarre. All right, remember, now, what's the latest and what are the facts regarding the possible arrest of Donald Trump? Susie Moore is going to join us at 6:35 to talk about that. It's 6:22 right now. I'm Mike. Got Gabe here, got Stell here. Okay, so interesting development in one of these St. Louis aldermanic races, talking about the 11th Ward. One of the incumbents in the city is now suing her opponent and suing the Board of Elections, saying that the opponent who made it through the primary is not qualified to be on the ballot. Okay, so here's what's going on. Alderwoman Laura Keyes says Carla Coffey Wright, you've seen her signs like all over the place in St. Louis because she runs for something pretty much every election cycle. She says she doesn't live in the ward. And she lied about it on the paperwork. That's the accusation on this.
That would be a problem if true.
If true, yeah. So here is KMOV's report that was filed. I think it was Melanie Johnson did this. So here's just a little bit of the lawsuit that was filed.
She says challenger Carla Coffey Wright violated residency requirements and has not shown proof that she even lives there. According to page 3, the Holly Avenue residence has not had water service since April 23rd, 2007.
We sign declarations, we sign oaths that the information that we are providing at that moment is true. And that has not happened.
Okay, so again, whether this is true or not is what remains to be determined on this, Gabe. But if this is true, then what do you do? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, now, okay, so is the issue that she has a house in the area, but it's not her residence? Is that's kind of what I'm getting?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, because of the lack of water service.
Right, or evidence that she actually lives in that residence.
So, like, if I try to run for office in a place where I had rental property, but I didn't actually live there, and no one's lived there since 2005 or whatever, that would be a problem. That would be me trying to game the system by the fact that I actually own a patch of ground someplace.
Right, because there are some cities where you can run at large.
Right.
St. Louis is not one of them. You have to live in that boundary. And also one of those things where, like, if you lived in that ward before they redrew the lines, sometimes somebody can make an argument saying, well, but I should be grandfathered in.
I didn't have time to move.
Right. Right. That's not the argument. That happened to Tim Fitch in St. Louis County. They drew the lines like around his house to get him out of the county council.
right around his backyard.
I'm not really kidding about that.
You're not really kidding.
That's really what happened.
I've seen that line. It's basically around his house.
Basically around his property line. And so, what did Tim Fitch do? He goes, well, it is what it is. This is not the ward. He he's a good man. He's an honorable man, and he didn't run. So in this case here, and there have been, like, for instance, accusations against other lawmakers at every level. You don't actually live in your district. Well, in some cases, that's actually not even legally required. In St. Louis, it is. Did you know, for instance, in Missouri, all you have to do is be a resident of the state of Missouri to run for any congressional seat in Missouri. You do not have to live in the actual district.
Is that the Maxine Waters Act, or what is that?
I don't know. Yeah, but it's true. You don't have to live in the actual congressional district.
Wow.
To legally run. Now,
Right.
the minute they say that you're running for the ward in suburban St. Louis, but you live in Neosho, or you live in St. Joseph, that's going to hurt your chances.
Yeah, the voters are going to run you out on a rail as
Yeah.
a carpetbagger. So
Right.
I think basically the law just leaves it in the hands of voters to make a decision
Right.
that way. But wow, that's very interesting though. I didn't know that.
Right. So here's the other thing here's another part of Melanie Johnson's report from KMOV. And this one not only has Laura Keys in it, but also has Ben Borgmeyer, who is with the Board of Elections, pointing out that, okay, nothing they can really do about it right now.
At this point, it would take a court order for us to do something with the ballot.
The Board of Elections is also named in the suit, but says verifying where candidates live is not their responsibility.
When someone comes to file with us, it's like checking boxes. Do you have your tax clearance form? Check. Do you have your signature petition? Check. Do you have are you swearing the oath that you qualify? Check. So that is essentially what we do.
We have to be the shining example that we want for our city.
They swear, essentially, they meet the qualifications that are set out in the city charter. So it's an oath. So it's a very serious thing.
He's actually correct. They actually are not legally equipped or allowed to discard somebody from the ballot if they present all of the required documents.
Okay.
So they're not an investigatory body.
Right.
So they're not a law enforcement body. They basically process, and if there's something and they say, wait a minute, that address is not in your ward. Wait a minute, you don't have enough signatures on the petition to get on the ballot. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they present everything and they sign their affidavit, they sign their oath, all they do is process it. They don't have the authority to kick somebody off unless somebody simply doesn't bring in the proper requirements.
That's very interesting as well. So you end up with this kind of legal limbo,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, where the body who checks it doesn't have any power to actually do anything if it doesn't check out in the end.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have people who go around and knock on the door to say, do you really live here?
Right.
They don't do that. They don't compare, basically you can't be behind on your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some basic requirements to do that. Now, in other areas, like for instance, when I ran for and won a seat on the Board of Aldermen where the place I used to live, I had to bring in like a utility bill or something that showed that I lived at that address.
Right.
Also show that I did not have any back taxes or fees or anything to the city at that point either. But the lawsuit is filed against the Board of Elections and against the other candidate. And the Board of Elections, that's just a standard procedural thing.
Yeah, you just kind of wrap them in there.
Yeah, because if the judge looks at that and says, well, no, this is correct, and then they can order the Board of Elections to remove the other candidate's name from the ballot. Now, this is assuming that this is all true. KMOV tried to call Carla Coffey Wright and knocked on her door, and they didn't get an answer. And as of late last night, they had not heard anything else from her. But it's just another case of where the drama a lot of times overshadows what the issues are in the race.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, I think, probably what's going on here. It does present some interesting things just from a legal standpoint in my mind of, when there are holes in the way the statutes are written or where the law is executed, and now you find yourself in a situation where it's actually important to get this right, but you don't have a legal mechanism to get there. It's like I'm always curious about, what do we do here? What's the right thing to do?
Yeah, and if somebody falsifies their documents,
he's like, hey, I've received all their documents. I got no power to check it.
Right.
So, yeah.
But if it comes out that if she falsified the documents, if she claims a residence in the district that she doesn't actually live at, well, you can have all the rules and regulations that you want, but if a document's falsified, and that's the problem. It's not the rules, it's that. I mean, the districts are the districts, and since they drew those new bigger districts, there's a bigger area, for her to live. And the question then becomes, do you live in this district? And if you don't, why didn't you run in the district you actually live in?
Oh man, there's so many questions that brings up. It's an interesting story, as weird of a story as it is.
It's a very weird story. All right, 314-912-1019. Here's what's going on. Susie Moore from Red State going to join us next. Donald Trump puts a post on his Truth Social. What do you call him on Truth Social?
A truth?
Is that what you call him?
I don't know.
But I like the fact you called it Trump Social.
I did. Freudian slip. I did say that, yeah.
You're not wrong. That gigantic T logo?
Yeah.
That's a Trump
that's
social.
Trump social.
He monograms everything.
So we're going to get the update. What do we actually know at this point? And then what's next? And so Susie's got the update from Red State because there's just a whole team of Red State writers that are working on this. And then after that, I want to know, what's your reaction? And are you planning to heed his call to protest? And listen, you disagree with me and you think that there's a place for it and a need for it. I'm all ears. You can even come on the air and tell us where you're going to do it and when you're going to do it and call other people to join you. I just don't think that you should be taking the bait on this. I think that your political opponents stand to gain more from this than you do. But I'm all ears. I'm willing to hear. So Susie Moore from Red State coming your way here just ahead on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. The news and talk
important to stay informed
that matters to St. Louis.
COVID, the economy, inflation, the national debt, the border, crime.
1019 and 94.1.
The Biden administration sucks.
News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey guys, it's Anna from Talkative. I am so excited to have finally found a coffee that doesn't leave me feeling jittery or overstimulated, and that's Pure Cure. Pure Cure is different from your average coffee company. They don't use artificial flavorings to mask a low-quality coffee. Instead, they have unique artisan roasts that showcase the full flavor of their coffee beans. I particularly love their signature blend, which is a take on amaretto, and you should check them out too. That's Pure Cure, PURCUR, coffee.com.
Hi, Jen Wallner here. As a former foster child myself, I have always been an advocate for foster children in our community. Angels Arms is an amazing organization that provides a stable, nurturing, and loving family environment for these children. They ensure these children have not only the childhood they deserve, but the resources needed to become successful, thriving adults. I truly believe that this organization is transforming lives, and I could not be more proud to be a small part of that accomplishment. For more information or to get involved, visit angelsarms.org.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Comma Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Comma Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Comma Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
Larry Connors, USA.
It's not uncommon today for young people to try out different labels in search of their truth.
In search of their truth or following your indoctrination.
Larry Connors.
Which came first?
Weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, will Donald Trump actually be arrested this week? And I don't know the answer to that. I honestly have no idea. All right, Susie Moore is joining us right now, but here's what we're going to do. Susie's got some updates for us. Red State's all over this. And then I want to hear what you think and your reaction, what you agree with, what you disagree with. We'll do that right around 6:50. All right, townhall.com's Brady Seabolt brings us up to date on what we do kind of sort of know right now.
Among those coming to Mr. Trump's defense, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who says a possible indictment would be an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against the former president. The House Speaker says he would direct relevant GOP-led House committees, quote, to immediately investigate if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions, unquote. Brady Seabolt reporting.
All right, if you go to redstate.com right now, basically you've got team coverage. You've got several articles written by several of their writers, so I can't say go to this article. Just go to redstate.com and
So many.
just kind of go down the line there. And we're joined now by Susie Moore from redstate.com. All right, Susie, so it's a definite maybe that Donald Trump's maybe he's going to get arrested on Tuesday, right?
Susie?
Uh-oh. Let's get Susie back on the line here.
Okay.
All right. Get with Susie Moore here. Technology, thank goodness. So
here to save us all.
Right. but the bottom line is that all of this firestorm started when Donald Trump made a social media post.
Right.
Not because of an announcement from, the DA's office or anything like that.
Which makes me wonder if there was any communication to his office.
There has been, because they invited Donald Trump to come speak to the grand jury. Now, that is typically a sign that there's an indictment on the way.
Oh, okay.
So there is reason to believe that he's right, that something has happened. Now, as far as the timing and everything that goes along with that, remains to be seen. But we got Susie Moore here with us now. And so, Susie, it's a definite maybe that he's getting arrested on Tuesday or something like that.
Is she?
We don't have her again.
Susie?
No, we don't have her.
Oh, dang it.
Okay. Well, anyway, so
Susie?
Here I am.
Oh,
There we go.
Hey,
There you
there
are.
we go. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the bottom line is we got Donald Trump making a claim that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. Nothing from the D, although we do know that there is activity that doesn't deny it, but the bottom line is we don't know exactly what's in the works right now, right?
There's a lot of questions. I mean, it was obviously very stunning when he came out with his initial, his truth on Saturday, I guess it was, asserting that he was going to be arrested. Obviously, that caused quite the hubbub. But based on the information that we have determined since then, yeah, that's a big question mark, because it sounds like there are going to be witnesses testifying before the grand jury today, and then of course they'll need to deliberate still and determine what they're going to do. So, did he have bad information, or was he just trying to make a preemptive move to, kind of create a little bit of a furor and possibly pressure the DA to reconsider them doing this? That's a good question.
Good morning, Susie. Gabe here. I'm going to assume that there are a whole lot of people out there who are about as confused about this as I am. So as far as I know, this has to do with hush money to Stormy Daniels, but I don't know the legal ins and outs. What is the actual charge? What are they trying to get him on? And how did this come back around?
Yeah, it's really confusing. You're not alone in that. We're not even 100% sure what the charge would be, but Jonathan Turley, who is brilliant in my view, has written about it and spoken on it. And the speculation is that it's a New York statute that has to do with miscategorizing or mischaracterizing a business expense. Basically, they're saying that they paid the hush money to Daniels and classified it as a legal expense, kind of like Hillary Clinton did with the Steele dossier. But really what it was a campaign, it was to the benefit of his 2016 campaign, so it was misclassified. It was one of those things that when it originally came up years ago, they looked at it to see if they could prosecute it as a federal elections crime or campaign, violation, and declined to do that. The federal government decided, no, they're not going to pursue that. And even Alvin Bragg, who's the DA that's doing this, initially walked away from it. Why it's coming back around now? Well, it's kind of hard not to deduce that it's because he's running for president again. And it all ties back into this hush money that was paid to Stormy Daniels back, I want to say, like in 2016.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm following you here, because it sounds like they tried to say, hey, you can't pay that out of campaign funds. They found out that it wasn't paid out of campaign funds, so now they're saying you should have classified it as coming out of campaign funds?
Basically, yeah.
What?
Yeah. And here's the other thing, because the state statute, first of all, it's a misdemeanor. So in order to get, and it has a 2-year statute of limitation. So in order to get around that, they're trying to bootstrap the federal elections campaign violation charge into it to give it a longer statute of limitations. But even that one is 5 years. So, I mean, they're twisting themselves in pretzel knots unless there's some, magical unicorn charge that no one's heard of that they're going to surprise us all with. They're really, really, really stretching this. And, if the goal is to keep him from being able to run, I don't think this is going to be effective because it doesn't seem like they've got a strong case. If, however, the goal is to force an error on his part and, more importantly, on his supporters' part, then they may be, on the right track there.
Yeah, that's the next question. Is Donald Trump calling for nationwide protests over this, which Gabe and I have been saying, don't take the bait on this. Follow up on trying to set up his side for an unforced error, because within the nominating and caucus process for the Republicans, I would think that this doesn't hurt Donald Trump. I mean, how many of these things has he already been through, and he comes out just fine on the Republican voter side?
Yeah, it's nothing. I mean, the underlying issue is nothing new. Everyone knows the Stormy Daniels saga, and whether they believe that he did or didn't have an affair with her, or whether the hush money was appropriate or not. I mean, that was baked in the cake years and years and years ago. The issue is more, how does this and can it blow back on him and Republicans at large? Because think about it this way. He calls for protests. Let's say people do take the bait. Let's say there are protests and some of them turn ugly. Let's say there are protests and they're encouraged to turn ugly by, undercover federal agents involved. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. So if that happens, then, there's this continuing narrative about everybody on the right being these insurrectionist type people that, are willing to burn down the country and yada, 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 all in support of Trump and their horrible Republican ideals. So that can even harm other Republican candidates, because then the Democrats can just run on the fact that Republicans are horrible swamp creatures.
Wow. There's so much to this story here, and I'm wondering where it's going. But I think Stell has a question.
Hey, Susie, Stell here. Quick question for you. Do you think that maybe Bragg, as DA, is trying to latch onto the coattails of Attorney General Letitia James in New York, because her total focus has been trying to take Trump down, and it seems as though this is a trend that we're seeing from New York, especially the southeastern portion of the state. You think maybe they're working together on this?
I would be shocked if they weren't. I mean, I don't know that they're pursuing the same avenue, the same types of charges. Their focus seems to be slightly different, but to think that they wouldn't have been in communication and coordinating in an attempt to see what they could, if they could do, kind of flank him, would be naive. I'm sure they've been in communication.
Okay, let's assume, just for the sake of argument, that that there is an indictment and they file some kind of arrest warrant for Donald J. Trump. This isn't like going to pick up Mike Ferguson, who's wanted on whatever. You've got a former president of the United States who has legal and overwhelming Secret Service protection. So this isn't just like stay in this jail cell here. It is very, very different, and it is the Secret Service couldn't care less what your politics are. They're not leaving their protectee.
Yeah, I mean, that raises the specter of some really, really complicated and potentially dangerous situations. Because here's the thing. If this were like a normal, even a normal high-profile person, the obvious thing would be to arrange for them to turn themselves in. They'd come down and they'd come in with their lawyers, turn themselves in, blah, 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 blah. You wouldn't have the infamous perp walk type thing. But, the rabid left, the people that are just, completely deranged with their hatred for Trump, want to see that so bad. So is there going to be an impetus there, just like the raid on Mar-a-Lago? Are they going to go over the top? Because they don't have to accept a voluntary surrender. And that assumes that he would, but I can't imagine that he wouldn't, if it comes to that, want to do it in a, kind of professional, cooperative way. I don't think we're going to see, him barricading himself in Mar-a-Lago, that sort of thing. And it's over essentially a misdemeanor that they're trying to bootstrap into a federal crime. I mean, a felony. It's not the type of thing that would require, them going to his residence and putting him in handcuffs and marching him out to the police car type situation. So, I mean, I've seen people talking about the fact, he's in Florida and this is New York. Are they going to extradite him? And what's Ron DeSantis going to do? Everybody's trying to turn this into their own political wedge. The whole thing is really ridiculous, and I don't trust that they're not going to turn it into a worse circus.
Susie, I've seen a lot of responses online, at least through Twitter, various blue check marks on Twitter, saying that this type of move is going to backfire on the Democrats, and they're going to get him elected. They're saying that the people are going to see this as naked politics. They're going to basically give Donald Trump some pity vote. I guess. I mean that maybe that's the analysis. But what's your read of the situation? How do you think this is going to play out in the politics of it all?
Let me toss one more caveat in. Or the Democrats know that this boosts Donald Trump in the process for the Republican side, and that's who they want on the ballot.
And they want in the ballot as opposed
that they
to
want as their opponent.
Right. And these guys are saying it's going to win them the general.
Yeah.
To your point, Mike, you're saying will get him through the primary, but he's gonna not make it through the general.
That they're saying this is the guy we actually want on the ballot.
Right. And I've seen polls to that effect.
Yeah.
What do you say, Susie?
Right. So that harkens back to their 2016 strategy, which was to elevate him so that he would be the one opposing Hillary, and he would for sure lose to her.
Right.
Ha-ha.
How'd that work out?
I think I have to give credit here to the people that are orchestrating this, because it's kind of a win-win-win in theory. A, it either elevates him and makes him the candidate because of sympathy on the right for him, and then yet, leaves him with additional baggage that makes it difficult for him to win the general, as Mike suggested. Or B, it essentially disqualifies him in some way because of the fact that, he may have an indictment hanging over his head, and I don't think we've ever really, legally determined whether or not somebody with an active indictment is eligible, and whether that creates all kinds of legal headaches for everybody. And or C, which is my theory, it gets people reacting instinctively and knee-jerk and doing stupid stuff, and further, perpetuates this narrative that, the right is the rabid party and dangerous and a threat to our democracy, and no one who even associates with the right or Republicans should be considered for this office.
Would it be the right in general, or would it be MAGA and Trump that they're trying to paint that brush with?
Well, Mike, a rational person might say, well, that would only apply to his most ardent supporters. However, as we've seen, whoever the Republicans run is going to be in some way, lumped in with, from when you're talking about the talking heads and how they discuss their loyal opposition.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Redstate.com. I would point to a single, article and say, okay, you got to read this one, but my goodness, your team's got 4 or 5 of them up at last check. So
we're on it.
All
we'll
over it.
To be.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens in the next, say, 36 hours.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks, Susie. I know you got an update later on today with Chris and Tim as well.
Yeah, who knows what will happen between now and then.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating. All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. All right, now it's your turn. You hear this news. We don't know if Donald Trump's going to be arrested, and we don't know if there's going to be an indictment. Looks like there's some activity, but I don't know what that means. And certainly, the DA is not going to want to just adhere to the timeline that Donald Trump laid out. But what do you think? And if there is an indictment, if there is an arrest, what do you do? Let's talk about it. 314-912-1019. This is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
you live in St. Charles County? Then you can get Mid-Rivers News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. Mid-Rivers News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit midriversnewsmagazine.com/subscribe to get a copy delivered to your mailbox. Or you can pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. Mid-Rivers News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. So why are you walking to work?
Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They're draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore.
Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do, because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Oh, wait. You're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FULL for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code FULL. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FULL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FULL.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so are we, I wonder if we even could be overthinking the politics and the nuance of it.
No, I don't think you are.
Maybe? I don't know.
Here's why I say that, by the way.
Okay.
What if part of the objective is people just get so sick of talking about Donald Trump that it hurts his electoral ability, because people are just ready to move on.
The exhaustion.
The exhaustion, the fatigue of it, of it, because there is the possibility of an indictment having to do with what happened in Florida and the Mar-a-Lago thing. A lot of people have forgotten it's out of the headlines, but there actually still is an ongoing, although I think this is a long shot, for some kind of indictment for possible election issues in Georgia. Because he's on recording saying, "Find me those votes." We got to find those votes, and people take that in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. So just like you had, impeachment after impeachment, and he comes out through it, and he won those. He was impeached, but then,
yeah, it fell apart.
It fell apart.
Quickly.
So all of these things might fall apart, but at some point, just by association, do people just say, "I'm tired of it. I'm ready to move on to somebody else"?
I mean, I guess it's a possibility. I know there are. Even MAGA people, I'll call them, I guess, former MAGA, who are saying, you know what, I'm kind of tired of the drama that comes with Trump, so let me be a little more open to another candidate. So I've seen that happen with certain individuals. So I guess maybe on a national level, it's possible. It's just like, you know what, can we just move on? Kind of idea might be sinking in, but I don't know. I mean, he still electrifies. Wherever he goes, you know what I mean. So it's good or bad, right? So I don't know.
I mean, evidenced by this later in the 7 o'clock hour, there was a forum that was considered kind of a pre-presidential forum in South Carolina, and some big names were there, and not a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah,
they're talking about his one post on True Social.
True. I mean, there could be just a general fatigue about campaigns, because it feels like we've been in a campaign season nonstop for like 10 years. I mean, honestly, it feels that way.
Yeah, but the only reason it feels that way is because we've been in a nonstop campaign season for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
That's what it feels
like. That it's reality. Okay, that's how the news has been going. That's how the politicians have been taking it. So yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
But the conversation about Donald Trump is different than the conversation about campaigns in general, though. I think everybody can agree that dynamic is true. What you think of that is a million different viewpoints from a million different people.
I think it's on top. You know what I mean? Because you get the I'm tired of politics in general. Trump he may typify some of the things we don't like about politics in general, whether it be, the deliberate targeting by feds to attack certain people, or the media at large, or it's his Trump's faux pas and how they just kind of suck the air out of the room for whatever's going on in the day. Just all of it, I guess, lumped together, kind of seems to be the gross cherry on top of the crap sundae that we have called politics, that we've been dealing with for, like I said, for like basically an uninterrupted decade.
Right.
So I don't know.
Because you think about the 2016 campaign started in 2015. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
we're just shy of a decade of constantly talking about the same type of thing.
Right.
And I think people may be getting tired of it, or because there are so many new nooks and crannies and crevices that keep coming out about how we deal with our government, how we deal with our politicians, stuff like that, that maybe it'll never die, which sounds sad to me.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We're definitely coming back to this throughout the day. By the way, 7:05, State Representative Tony Lovasco going to give us an update of what's happening this week in the Missouri legislature. The spring break is over. Did you guys do brackets for the NCAA tournament?
I didn't, and by the sound of it, most of you might as well not have.
Yeah, so apparently it's been a wild tournament with all the upsets. So if you're not sure who is actually still in the Sweet 16, I'm here to help you out.
Blue Jays, Bulldogs, Bruins, and Razorbacks, Hurricanes, Huskies, Owls, Cougars, Wildcats, Aztecs, Spartans, Musketeers, Crimson Tide, Longhorns, Volunteers, 15-seater Tigers ruined your hoop dreams. You got killed, your bracket looks like a crime scene. The Sweet 16.
There you go. I've brought you update on sports, guys.
Well done.
Brackets are busted everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those years where if somebody says, I still have a perfect bracket, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
You're lying.
Yeah. Or if you got that right, oh, you're weird.
Play Powerball.
The latest news.
Do we have operational control of the border?
Yes, we do.
Does DHS have operational control?
No, sir. It is so profoundly offensive.
What took place at Silicon Valley Bank?
Recent bank failures.
Our banking system is sound.
The news you need to know.
Unsafe actions by Russian pilots.
This was international space. We had every right to be there.
And the place to talk about it.
He was trying to cover his backside, and everybody knows it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's time to spring into green with Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Don't miss this opportunity to save $2,000 and receive 0% financing on select John Deere compact tractor packages. Built to handle any challenges that lie ahead, choose from our All-American, Mississippi Queen, Bulldog, or Homesteader packages. Visit ascentpartners.com for more information. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 3/31/23. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
It's Proctor spelled like doctor for custom window fabrics and shutters. Upgrade or start from scratch. Either way, Michael is the St. Louis expert. Check him out at proctordrapery.com and then call Proctor spelled like doctor for shutters, shades, and draperies.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Columbo and Katie.
How are we living in a world right now that every single thing feels like it's staged? Every single conversation, every single debate.
Because a lot of it is.
Every single argument.
It's the Instagramming of America. If you know how Instagram works, it's basically, this is the nice life simulator of reality, where you're supposed to take the very best pictures of your very best hair day.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It is another sign of the strengthening ties between Beijing and Moscow. Chinese President Xi visiting Moscow for talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin.
Today's meeting in Moscow between the Chinese and Russian leaders is a political boost for an isolated Vladimir Putin after the International Criminal Court charged him with war crimes in Ukraine. On Fox News Sunday, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said the U.S. will be monitoring for news about what the two leaders say about Ukraine.
China has not condemned Putin's invasion of Ukraine. They are still buying Russian oil and energy resources, and they have at least given tacit approval because they've taken the Russian claim that this is somehow an existential threat against Russia, that the war is the West's fault.
Beijing called for a ceasefire last month, but Washington said that would ratify the Kremlin's battlefield gains. Donna Warder, Washington.
Consolidation in the banking industry. Swiss banking giant UBS buying troubled rival Credit Suisse for more than $3 billion. New York Community Bank will pay $2.7 billion for a major share of failed Signature Bank. A lawyer who previously advised the key government witness in the hush money investigation of Donald Trump reportedly has been invited to appear before a Manhattan grand jury considering potential charges against Mr. Trump.
Robert Costello had advised former Trump attorney Michael Cohen before the two had a falling out. A person familiar with the matter says Costello is prepared to offer testimony to the grand jury attacking the credibility of Cohen's statements.
That's correspondent Ken Lorman. On Wall Street, stock futures have been bouncing between gains and losses this morning. Right now, Dow futures down 43 points, NASDAQ futures 18 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. I knew we could not put off getting life insurance. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $40 a month. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $18 a month.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161 or go to SelectQuote.com now. That's 1-800-940-6161. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercial.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold, in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, on the Missouri side, the legislature gets back to work today. Is that a good or bad thing? Time is going to tell.
I hope it's good.
We're going to find out.
If they bring taxes down, it's good.
Yeah, there are some within their own ranks of the Republicans who are trying to stop that from happening.
Oh, boy.
So we'll talk about that. Also, did the road to the White House make a detour through South Carolina this weekend? I've got the update for you. Some very, very big names were speaking there when it comes to the presidential race. But joining us right now is State Representative Tony Lovasco, who is tanned, rested, ready to get back to work after their spring break. So, Tony, good morning to you. All right, you're back to work. Halftime's over. When you look at where the main priorities are of the Missouri Republican Party, the Republican caucus, how would you assess where we're at? Because honestly, I think a lot of people thought with the overwhelming Republican majority, with such a conservative increase, especially in the state Senate, man, we were going to get some stuff across the finish line early on within weeks, spike the football, and then go celebrate. But the process is still doing its thing, you know?
Well, that does seem to be the pattern, actually. We're doing not as bad as we could be, but we're a little bit behind. We did do some great things right before the spring break, at least on the House side, that I think are worthy of mentioning. We passed open enrollment out of the House, which is a fantastic education reform measure that allows people to send their kids to a school district that they don't live in, which is a pretty big deal if you live nearby an area that you like to send your kid, but for whatever reason you don't want to move. This is an option for you. We passed a regulatory sandbox measure, which allows new startup companies to kind of temporarily bypass some of the regulatory state so that they can kind of get an incubator started and get their business up and going without government getting involved. That's pretty fantastic. But then again, we also did some stuff that wasn't so great. We passed a big tax credit program that effectively only applies to one company to open up some kind of entertainment venue. And we did some other weird stuff as normal. But overall, this is kind of where I expected us to be at this point in the year.
Morning, Tony. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So what's on tap? What's next?
I think the next thing that we're going to start to see is really the budget. We've got a constitutional deadline coming up here at the end of March, and we're going to have to make that happen. Unfortunately, I think that's where we're going to start seeing things turn the corner in the wrong direction, at least out of the gate. The governor's budget he's proposed is even larger than last year's, and last year's was the biggest one we've had in Missouri history. So hopefully we can cut that down a bit.
I was reading a Business Journal article this morning on the proposal to get rid of taxes on groceries. A lot of people don't realize we're only on the Missouri side, only one of 13 states in the country that actually applies the sales tax on actual groceries, like actual essential foods. But it looks like that's stalling and going in a bad direction, may not make it across, specifically because of some Republicans in the legislature.
There are definitely some folks that have a little bit of heartburn with that. There's a lot of people that I think on principle don't like the idea of exempting certain types of products from taxes and that would like to see things kind of treated equally, which I'll admit is kind of my initial place that I approached that when I first heard the idea. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that, you really shouldn't be taxing people on things that are required to survive. That is a little different than saying, we're going to give discounts on ball game tickets or something like that. That's just a giveaway to some special interest. Everyone needs to eat, right? So it seems something reasonable that we could be doing.
Yeah, and what is it? And I'm sorry to jump in, Gabe. Let me follow up with that. Is that the Democrats don't even have to put up a fight on this, because I know Lincoln Huff and some others, they're the ones arguing against it, saying it's going to cost governments too much money. And I am old enough to remember when the Republican Party was not a government-first party. Why are there some Republicans who seem to be going against the ethos of the party and the platform itself?
Well, I think it's even worse than that, and that's that most of the Democrats support that tax cut. It's one of the few tax cuts that the Democrats really want to get behind. So it's a very odd dynamic. And as far as the motivations, we're seeing more and more folks in the Republican Party that are concerned about funding. which is rather ridiculous in a time of record surpluses. I really don't understand this idea that the sky is falling if we make small cuts to very specific things when we've got more money than we've ever had.
So, Tony, getting to that argument, especially in terms of the budget, what are the items that you're looking to yank out from the cold dead fingers of the status around to kind of cut down on our spending overall?
Well, it's up to me about 80%, but I don't think I'll be getting that.
Love it.
The unfortunate problem with how the budget process works is that if you're not on the budget committee, you really don't have a whole lot of input. It's a little more of an up or down vote from the perspective of those of us who are not, in that behind-the-scenes process, which is really frustrating. The rules as far as, who can offer amendments and whatnot on the floor, yes, technically anyone's allowed to, but generally speaking, if the budget chair is not behind you, you're not going to get it. So a lot of times I've unfortunately been in a position to just have to vote no on a bunch of stuff. We'll see what happens.
And where last time you were on, Tony, we were talking about initiative petition reform. Where is that right now? We knew that the media, once they figured out that this was an actual priority that you all were taking seriously, we knew they were going to start throwing a hissy fit, and they have. So where is that right now?
Well, it's unclear. So we passed a kind of tepid version out of the House several weeks ago. It basically changes the threshold, from 50% plus one to 60%, which is, fine, but it doesn't really do a whole lot in and of itself. And to be honest, I've already heard grumblings that the Senate, assuming they bother to take the bill up at all, is going to knock that down to, 55, 56%, something of that nature. I'm of the mind that we really ought to pass something stronger. There's another measure that has been circulated through both the House and the Senate, at least through the committee process, that would basically require what they call a concurrent majority. And the idea is that rather than just trying to make it, harder to pass on a, purely technical front, what we would do is we would say, look, we want to make sure that there's consensus, across the state in a similar way to how the Electoral College works for the presidential election. And that's that, you have to get 50% plus one of the overall vote to amend the Constitution. But you'd also have to get it within all the congressional districts as well, and not just from a handful of regions that are highly concentrated as far as population. So I think it's a good compromise. Accomplishes the same thing. It's probably a little bit easier to sell that to the people once we put it on the ballot. So.
Yeah, because we've seen the pattern on, how much it costs almost to the dollar what it takes to buy yourself a constitutional amendment. And the thing is, Tony, is that my understanding is when it comes to initiative petition reform, we're not talking about just statutes or law. We're talking about constitutional amendments, making it a higher threshold specifically for constitutional amendments. If somebody wants to put an initiative petition reform that's a resolution or a statute or something, that's not affected, as I understand it.
Correct. Yeah, there's no real interest in changing that. If the people decide that they would like to put the law on the books that, we haven't gotten to or whatnot, they go through the process. It's not really the end of the world, because if they get something wrong or, there's some typo or some oversight, we can just fix that the next year at the legislature. It's not a big deal. Whereas the Constitution, you get that wrong, there's major consequences, and it's not easy to fix. And so we got to make sure we get it right the first time.
Okay, so as you head back into the legislature this week, Tony, some of the other school choice bills, let me come back to that because you mentioned the open enrollment, which I think is fantastic. Could there be expansions of, say, charter schools, of ESAs or anything like that? Or is this just another kind of bite-sized nibble in the overall picture?
Well, I think it is bite-sized. I don't know that we'll see charter school expansion come back this year. It's possible, but that seems fairly unlikely given the climate. I do think some minor expansions to the ESA program is quite possible. There's a lot of ways that we can tweak that make some pretty good improvements without ruffling the feathers of some of the moderates. I know Representative Phil Cristofanelli out in St. Charles has got a bill that's been moving through committee that makes some tweaks there that we might look at. But it's hard to say if we're going to make any big changes this year in that space. I'm always surprised, so you never know.
Yeah, and at this point, just in the last minute or so, we're visiting with the State Representative Tony Lovasco. The difference in the dynamics of post-spring break versus pre-spring break I've just observed over all the years is that the ticking clock is a much bigger factor from here until the end of session. Do you sense that this year is going to be any different, or is the clock going to become part of the strategy?
It's always a little bit part of the strategy. A lot of times the clock is from the opposite side of the building. The Senate is always very unpredictable towards the end of the year. And a lot of times you got to kind of work with what you got as far as from them. But it's always interesting. There's this little period after spring break when we're working on the budget and we're kind of perfecting and otherwise working on bills from the House side that statistically probably don't have a whole lot of time to make it across over on the Senate side. And so there's a lot of kind of just working on things that everyone's really hoping might have a chance, but we all kind of know deep down probably not going to make it in time. And that's a little frustrating. But the last month of session is always fun when everything gets down right to it.
Yeah, it gets pretty wild out there. All right, Tony Lavasco, TonyLavasco.com. Hey, appreciate the update, and I'll be bugging you again for another update soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, 314-912-1019. There was an event in the Palmetto State. Or how do you say it?
Palmetto?
Palmetto State, yes. Mm-hmm. I've only been there a few times. Beautiful state, though.
And a nice license plate, too.
They do. They have very cool license plates. Yeah. Some of the big presidential candidate contenders, not all of them, but some of them were there, including one potential candidate who seems to be very popular in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what they had to say. Guys, I'll go around the room and get your all's reaction to what we're hearing from Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Tim Scott, who all participated in this. It's just ahead right around 7:19 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up,
Columbo and Katie.
Monday, Tony Colombo is back from Disney World, and we'll catch up with him on what exactly he did, what did he see, what rides did he ride with James, and how was it visiting DeSantis land.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
When it comes to the spring, this is the first day of spring, by the way. And you know what that means? That means lots of rain. That means that the hot temperatures are right around the corner, which means you need to make sure that your home is protecting you, both by keeping the elements out and also by keeping your energy in and as efficient as possible. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Window World. They are simply the best for less. I'm going to give you this phone number a couple more times here. 314-993-1800. This is not one size fits all. They customize their windows to fit your house. And don't think for a minute that because they have such high quality and because they customize the windows that you're going to end up paying a lot more money. You may be saving money compared to even what you get at the home improvement stores, but you're definitely going to be saving money when they improve the efficiency of your home. Matter of fact, over 70,000 customers in St. Louis alone have been using and are using Window World windows that have been installed over the last 20 years. And all of those windows still, to this day, have that lifetime warranty that covers parts, glass breakage, and labor. These are strong windows, double-strength glass. That is not normally what you see, and it's certainly not what you're going to see, even in windows more expensive than Window World. They are so durable, you can literally stand on top of these windows. I've done it. I'm telling you, you can do that. So give them a call, 314-993-1800. They'll come out, give you a free estimate in your home. They will show you the windows, no pressure. Take the measurements, tell you what they can do. Leave it up to you. Window World offers 18 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. And one thing that separates this company from the rest is their commitment to you, their commitment to customer service. That's shown by their excellent track record with both the BBB and other reporting agencies. WindowWorld.com, WindowWorld.com, easy enough. Look them up, or 314-993-1800.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Fox News commentary.
First they came for our gas stoves, and now our washing machines. Well, come and take it, Joe. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Inflation is nothing more than legalized theft. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and to preserve your wealth, I highly recommend keeping physical gold in your retirement account. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold, which is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text SHELTER to 989898 9898 to request your free info kit right now.
They came after our gas stoves, and now the administration's climate change police has its sights set on your washing machines. Folks, Biden's Department of Energy proposed new efficiency standards for washing machines that will require them to use less water, all to fight climate change. But leading manufacturers are crying foul, saying these new guidelines will reduce washing performance. You know, the whole point of the machine in the first place. Washing cycles would take longer, detergent will cost more, and clothes will ultimately be less clean. And all for what? So the administration can appease Big Green. This is not for the environment, folks. This is another example of government overreach and government control. But we won't and will not ever wear dirty clothes to appease Big Green Joe. Not gonna happen. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Two of the announced presidential candidates and one possible candidate appeared at an event in South Carolina over the weekend. Of course, that's all being, overshadowed by Donald Trump's True Social claim that he's about to be arrested. So we'll kind of get a picture of the race for the Republican nomination. I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 7:21 right now. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. Don't forget our News Talk STL newsletter. Just go to newstalkstl.com and you can subscribe. And no, we don't spam up your inbox. You just get a once a week update on events and videos and all sorts of stuff. You can read the whole thing in 3 or 4 minutes. It's a lot of fun. And it includes a cartoon from Todd Showalter, our resident satirist. So a lot of fun stuff that's happening there. All right. There is an event. Let me find my actual name of the event itself. It is from South Carolina, and this is one of those really conservative events that was called, let's see here, in South Carolina, called the Palmetto Promise or Palmetto Future. Palmetto Forum, the Palmetto Forum. Why can't I say that word?
I don't know.
I've been to South Carolina a number of times. Why can't I say that word? Palmetto Forum in North Charleston, South Carolina.
That was better.
That was much better.
Yeah,
I don't know. When I'm looking at it, I'm reading it, I'm saying it, and I know it doesn't sound right when it's coming out of my face.
It happens.
Then I look at it, I'm like, what in the world am I doing here?
There's some words that are just like that.
All right. So Nikki Haley, of course, the former governor of South Carolina.
Should be really popular down there.
She is. She is popular down there. Here's a clip of her statement on this. And by the way, this event is specifically sort of aimed at religious conservatives. So this is this isn't just a general GOP thing. This is aimed at at conservatives specifically as well. So here's one of the applause lines she got. Tell me what you think about this, guys.
We have got to get term limits in Washington, D.C. We have to. And we have to pass mental competency tests for people over the age of 75.
75? I'd go with 55. Golly.
Yeah. How about universal mental competence tests?
All right.
Because there's some 35-year-olds on Capitol Hill who would fail.
Oh, my goodness. Now, okay, so here's the interesting thing. Now, the term limits debate, listen, I get both sides of the argument. I get both sides of the argument. I think you can make a case pro or against in very good faith. I mean, that's not to me not a deal-breaking issue, but okay,
whatever.
That's fine. The mental competency. Let's talk about that for a second here. Okay, I agree. 75 is any line you set's going to be arbitrary. Line. Right.
Yep.
Strategically, you know what happens? The older you get, the more likely you are to be determined to vote. So, guess what happens with 75-year-olds and above? They're voting. They're showing up to vote unless they're not mentally competent to remember to vote. But that's a whole other thing.
You know that you're not wrong.
But that's the thing is, one, if you're – because she's kind of – I think this was like a line that was kind of something she tossed out in Iowa, and people reacted. And so now it's like becoming one of her themes. And I'm going, the longer you do that, how much are you just going to make people mad who are a little bit older?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, Mike, because seasoned generations who they make sure that they get to the polls. They are a massive and reliable voting block there. So you got to be careful. It's one of the reasons why the Democrats always accuse Republicans of wanting to cut Social Security, because it ensures that a good portion of that particular voting block goes their way, just to, as a matter of self-protection, even though it's, an absolute lie that, even if there were reforms, that it would touch them. It may turn out to be a mistake to kind of go in this direction, because there's people are going to take it a certain way, one way or the other, and the portion of the electorate that takes it the wrong way could be enough to make a significant difference, especially in a primary.
Mm-hmm. All right, Stell, you hear her say that. What do you think?
To be honest with you, I think it's I don't want to say frivolous, because I think it is important, but I wouldn't put it as a subject that should be top of mind for everyone going into the presidential election. She can discuss it. That's fine. I'm just not sure if most people are really that concerned about it, although they should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
she's
she's obviously latching on the fact that clearly Joe Biden has his moments, shall we say.
Oh, plenty of them.
Lots and lots and lots of moments. Dianne Feinstein is absolutely out of the picture in the news because she's basically non-functioning.
Yeah, she's basically incapacitated.
Completely.
Yeah.
And we can toss Fetterman.
I was about to say Fetterman. Yeah, precisely. So that's, but then at the same time, okay, are you going to walk up to every Republican who's 75 or older and say, okay, mental competency test, let's see the papers work?
Mitch McConnell? Sure.
John Kennedy, though?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
He'd be fine. I'm sure he would pass it with...
But should we put people through that is the question. That, just because, okay, it's one thing to say you got to pass a driving test a little more often once you get past a certain age. But to say, okay, you're at this age, we need to make sure you're not demented. That's a tough sell, I think, to a big generation.
I would make it if we're gonna touch this, right, I would make it universal, and I would make it something that has to be done as a qualification to get on ballots.
But then who decides who passes and fails?
Yeah, and then I guess that's kind of whenever you have a test, who sets the criteria for the test, and at that point it's like, well, if we're talking about something that has to be done before you get on a ballot, now we're talking about essentially primaries. Those are run by the parties, so it would be the party's job to figure it out, and Democrats aren't gonna try to disqualify anybody. Republicans aren't really going to try to disqualify anybody, so the test is going to ultimately be meaningless.
There's got to be a nonpartisan testing company out there somewhere.
You'd think.
Psychological testing.
But if they start nonpartisan, do they stay nonpartisan?
You know who does psychological testing for major companies is Dr. Chaffetz for Chaffetz Arena here in town. His company's up in Chicago. They do psychological testing for companies around the country, maybe around the world, for prospective employees.
Interesting.
I wonder if we could give Richard a call.
Is there a way to do blind testing for competence? I mean, I'm assuming that it has to be done in person, but maybe it doesn't.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's changed with the Zooms and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, you know who else was there?
Who?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There. Here's one of the things he had to say.
It is between the Great Reset and what I call the Great Uprising of citizens of self-governing nations, including and especially the United States, who say absolutely not to that agenda, that I'm not a citizen of the globe, I am a citizen of this nation.
Did you get his book yet, by the way?
No, it has not
my
arrived
goodness.
yet. The funny part was I got the thing from Amazon and said, what did you think of your purchase? I'm like, it hasn't arrived yet.
Oh, my gosh.
It was supposed to be here last week.
What's going on?
It was supposed to be here
8 o'clock Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you were supposed
it
to
hasn't
get it?
shown up yet. But I got the thing that said, rate your purchase. I'm like, when I get it, I will think about it.
Are you a victim of porch piracy, you think?
It's possible.
So some guy went all the way up the dang hill of your front yard just to grab a book off of your front porch. That's crazy.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
That's why I've got that big sign that says, please put it behind the brick wall.
Right.
So nobody can see it up there. But, I mean, I was in the house. No, it just hasn't shown up yet.
That sucks.
I've had this happen before, though. I think what happens is some of the drivers just mark it as delivered so they stay out of trouble. Then they get it to me whenever they get it to me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he also said another statement. He said this.
I think the way we deliver national unity is actually by embracing the extremism, the radicalism of the American ideals themselves, from free speech to self-governance to meritocracy. I think that's how we unify this country.
I think that's an interesting head-on approach. Embrace the extremes to unify the country.
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that he cast it as extremes because all the only things he mentioned there were, I would think, the things that we're also
basics.
They're the middle of the road things. They're the things that in the middle of the Venn diagram, right? They're supposed to be between the two sides of our political spectrum. So
don't get Kamala in this.
Really.
Hey, I like Venn diagrams too. I'm just not dumb enough to bring it up the way she would. But that's the thing. I mean, he calls it radical, but I guess in these days it is radical to say these ideas that came out of they were radical for their time. That we need to embrace those things because they are distinctly American, and that's what would unify us. I agree with that sentiment.
Okay, do I have time for one more quick soundbite?
Sure, go ahead.
Senator Tim Scott.
Not only have we had 4.5 million illegal crossings, not only have we found 100 people on the security watch list, but we've also had over 100,000 Americans lose their lives connected to fentanyl.
Okay, first of all, going from Vivek Ramaswamy to Tim Scott is like going from fifth gear to first gear.
That's whiplash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Although both of these guys are incredibly intelligent guys. It just feels like when you get to a stop sign, you jolt forward just a little bit. That's kind of what it feels like.
Well, double shot caffeine to a nice cup of tea.
Or from the far left lane all the way over to the slow right lane.
Exactly. So I mean, now again, we love Tim Scott.
Absolutely,
he is a statesman, as I like to say. He's one of the few these days, and I love the things that he says and the things that he brings up. But his electricity level, his energy level is always just a little bit shy of what you want. I say that generously, a little bit shy of what you want in a candidate. So I would love to see him on a presidential debate stage, but I think Morris is the farm league, the Republican farm league, to develop his national presence.
Yeah, but if he had that pizzazz, are we having this conversation? Because this guy's a heavyweight mind.
Oh, no, I mean we're talking about him as a contender.
Yeah.
If he had enough of that X factor that I think is part of the popularity contest that is the presidential election, right?
Right, because I don't think you can. You can agree or disagree with him on different issues, and that's what you're supposed to do in a campaign, assuming he gets into the race, which we don't know yet. But I don't think anybody can say that this guy doesn't have the goods.
No, he's got it in spades.
I like this guy. I like this guy. We'll see what happens with him. All right, just ahead here, there's a rally planned for just about 7 hours from right now in Jefferson City to try to protect kids, vulnerable kids, from these abuses that are happening in places like St. Louis, to try to protect them from this trans ideology that's victimizing so many kids. We're going to talk to Bob Onder. He's one of the speakers at that event. He's going to tell us what's happening and what the update is that we're seeing on the legislation to protect kids in Missouri. That's just ahead right around 7:36 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold, in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
School choice is an idea whose time has come. It's flourishing in many states, just not in Missouri. Take charter schools, a great alternative for parents whose kids may be trapped in a failing school district. But charter schools are currently only available to families in just 3 of 520 school districts: Kansas City, the city of St. Louis, and Normandy. Open enrollment allows students to enroll in a district other than the one in which they live. It's important because rural schools may not offer all the advanced classes larger districts do. Open enrollment does exist in Missouri, but participation is highly restricted. And the Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA program, needs to be expanded so many more parents of students with disabilities and low-income students can access it. Charter schools, open enrollment, ESAs. If they're good for some children, they should be good for all children. Check out our 2023 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward, at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Columbo and Katie.
Kellyanne Conway, I wanted to get your thoughts on what happened with Don Lemon last week.
My experience with him is he's always been a misogynist, sexist jerk. His treatment of me on his program and then his treatment of me when I wasn't on his program has been abhorrent. I don't know how you train people away from something that they believe. He clearly believed it wasn't a slip of the tongue.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What can we do to drain the swamp?
Live and local.
At some point, do we just let the dumb ones weed themselves out?
Our modern society has been keeping dumb people alive for a long time.
This is News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
When we see that there's a massive problem, a massive injustice, a massive harm to somebody else, we want to do something about it. And we leave that, in a lot of cases, up to our lawmakers. Will they actually do something about it? We're about to find out over the next, couple months or so in Jefferson City. Mike Ferguson here, got Gabe here, got Stell here as well. This afternoon, Monday afternoon, there is a rally happening in Jefferson City at the Capitol Rotunda, and it has to do with supporting the proposed legislation to do what should be just common sense and protect children from this I would say the ideology. I don't know that it's government's job to protect anybody from what any parent or something teaches, even if I find it disgusting and distasteful. But we're talking about protecting them from overt sexualization, from chemical alterations, from hormonal alterations, from surgical alterations, something that you should not be allowed to do anywhere in a civilized world or anywhere else. Former State Senator Dr. Bob Onder joins us right now. And Bob, you're speaking at this event. So what is the event? What is the rally? And then we'll get into why, unfortunately, we have to have rallies and things to remind lawmakers that we're serious about protecting vulnerable kids.
Well, yes, thanks for having me back. At 2 p.m. in the Missouri State Capitol, there will be a Kids First rally. This is sponsored by a very diverse group of folks, JodyGrace.com, Trey Voices, Gays Against Groomers. And this is to emphasize the importance of immediately passing legislation to protect kids, as you put it, from this horrific experimental therapy that has been conducted on kids in the name of gender ideology. And I agree with you. Parents, should be given, almost complete autonomy as to how they raise their kids and what they teach their kids. But the problem is this isn't being driven by parents. Gender ideologues in our schools, on social media, quack doctors at clinics like the one down at Washington University, and even quack school counselors are teaching kids who have psychological issues, depression, anxiety, autism. They're telling them that all their problems will be solved if they only transition to a different gender. If girls become boys and boys become girls, it's pernicious. 4 other countries, 8 other states have outlawed this horrific therapy. And the purpose of the rally is to highlight the importance of passing the SAFE Act to protect kids.
Good morning, Dr. Gabe Pfeiffer here.
Hey, Gabe.
One of the things that I'm always boggled by is how we can't just simply point to existing laws against doing things to kids, against abusing kids, mutilating kids.
Right.
Why do we need new legislation? Wouldn't we able to just kind of point to our existing legislation, or have the powers that be just made it so untenable to do that we do need to have this specified bit of legislation?
Well, yeah, I think the problem here is that this transgender grooming and then medicalization, chemical sterilization surgery, it's become mainstream. It's in our schools. Counselors are taught that they need to take an affirming approach. If a 10-year-old boy decides he's really a girl, you've got to affirm that. And many of the professional organizations that we'd like to be able to trust, like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, their guidelines have been written and taken over by the transgender activists and the quack doctors. So it would be very, although I agree with you, I mean, we have laws against child abuse, and mutilation of children is illegal. Poisoning children is illegal under present law. In our current climate, there's no way you'll get a prosecutor to bring such a charge, or a sheriff or a police chief to make arrests. I think it probably ought to happen, honestly, but I think we need to make this completely clear in the law that this is not acceptable in the state of Missouri, and kids will be protected.
Okay, Jaded Mike is about to come out, Bob.
Yeah.
Jaded Mike looks at the entire situation and says this is a rally that's probably going to be well attended. You've got very specific things you're pointing at. But if these laws were on the fast track and it was a no-brainer and the legislature was certain to do the right thing, you wouldn't need to go to Jeff City to do what you're doing today. What does it look like politically is the status of these laws that should be absolutely no-brainers among any decent human being?
You're right. This should be a no-brainer among any decent human being, Republican or Democrat, progressive or conservative. This should be a no-brainer. And certainly every Republican who pretends to have an ounce of common sense and want to protect kids, it should be a no-brainer. The problem is that time and again in Jeff City, we have this coalition of progressive Democrats and moderate rhino Republicans who don't want to do anything to rock the boat, just go along to get along. And unfortunately, we have very weak leadership right now in the Missouri House and the Missouri Senate. So a big purpose of this rally, and again, the Speaker of the House, Dean Plocher, the Pro Tem of the Senate, Caleb Rowden, they want to run for statewide office in 2024, and yet they right now, as we speak, are scheming with the Democrats. How can we pass a bill that'll sound good in the headlines, but really does nothing ultimately to protect kids or to shut down the abuses at that shop of horrors known as the WashU Pediatric Transgender Center? So you're right to be jaded, Mike, and that's why your listeners, us at the rally today, need to put the feet to the fire of Senate leadership, House leadership to get this done.
It sounds like there isn't really this isn't a matter of a cogent defense of the current era or the current regime. It's just a matter of I don't want to be caught rocking the boat. Is that about right? I mean, has there been any intellectual discussion about this that's worth the darn?
No, not really. Not really. It's not rocking the boat, and it's also about money. There is a PAC run by Washington University supporters that has given $200,000 to Caleb Rowden, the president of the Senate, and $100,000 to Dean Plocher, Speaker of the House. So once again, there really is no cogent argument. Look, Finland, Norway, Sweden, the UK, 8 other states have looked at the evidence and have said this is not good for kids. There is not evidence that this does more good than harm to transition these poor kids who really need psychological care and emotional support, 70 to 98% of them will end up identifying with the sex they were born if they're only kept out of the hands of the groomers and the quack doctors. So we need to overcome politics, overcome the money and the special interests, and get this done for the kids of our state.
Bob, you listed off some of the sponsors of the event today. One of you mentioned Gays Against Groomers, which has taken a lot of heat from their own community in the country. Yeah. And to me, that points out that, yeah, there is a grooming aspect, and there are people across the board who say, yeah, we can have different values and we can have different lifestyles, we can have different beliefs, but can't we all agree that you don't get in and try to encourage kids on something that is sexuality based? So this isn't just a bunch of church-going conservative Christians who are going to be speaking.
That's right. Every man and woman on this planet had to go through puberty and work through their sexuality, and of course, there is such a thing reasonably common as same-sex attraction. Some people work through their sexuality as an adolescent and decide they're attracted to people of the same sex or people of both sexes. That's okay. We need to let kids grow up. But the problem is when the radical activists get a hold of these kids and convince them to do life-changing therapies, whether hormones or surgery, that does permanent harm. And yes, many from across the political spectrum, conservatives and liberals, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat, have come together to protect kids.
Okay, so for those of us who can't be at the rally, what's the playbook from this point forward? I've been trying to raise the alarm the last couple of weeks saying, listen, halftime matters in the Missouri legislature, and if something's not on the fast track to the finish line at this point, get concerned about it. And those PAC donations you just mentioned answers probably a lot of questions for a lot of people right now. But what do we do? What do all of us do right now to put the pressure on our lawmakers to make sure that these bills are something goes through? Because like Gabe said, you would think that taking a scalpel to a child for an elective sexuality-based thing would be covered under child abuse laws, but for whatever reason, the white coat crazies are doing it anyway, so we obviously need these laws. But what do we do to help push those forward?
Yes, what your listeners need to do is go to house.mo.gov and senate.mo.gov. Contact your own state rep and your own state senator, but also contact the Speaker of the House, Dean Plocher, the pro tem of the Senate, Caleb Rowden, and tell them that you want to protect kids from transgender therapies, not just the surgery, because the transgender clinic down at WashU claims they don't do any surgery anyway. So a bill that only outlaws the surgeries wouldn't do a darn thing. Tell them you need to outlaw the dangerous hormones, the puberty blockers, and protect kids from this experimental therapy, and pass the SAFE Act, S-A-F-E, that's Senator Moon's Senate Bill 49.
All right, Bob Onder, appreciate you being on the show. We've already tagged you on our social media. Send us some pictures, will you? I'd love to get some of those up on our social media.
Will do. Great to be back. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
All right,
Bob.
that's former state senator and Dr. Bob Onder. 314-912-1019. You know, I would say you'd be surprised. I don't think you will, Gabe, when you find out a recent survey says how many adults just don't feel like they can handle being an adult.
Oh, gosh.
They just don't know how.
Trouble adulting?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's the word that was used.
Yes, that's how they do.
I will tell you about that. And then right around 8:04 or so, kind of following up with what we had with Bob here, you roll that in and you roll in all the COVID stupidity that happened. Can we trust our doctors anymore? That conversation comes your way at 8:05 right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Larry Connors, USA.
Well, source matters a lot. That would mean the director of National Intel is either lying himself or he's not that intelligent.
Larry Connors.
Or both.
Weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Dr. Randy Tobler here, and I know that when you're looking for a dentist, you have to make sure you choose a dental practice that's compatible with you and the needs of your family. Well, I'd like to tell you about my dentist, Dr. Dan Cusimano, and his partner, Megan Dwyer, and their team at Advanced Dentistry at St. Charles. The great team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles can accommodate all of your cosmetic and restorative needs because their passion is general dentistry. Implants, crowns, bridges, even dentures. That what you need the most is what they'll provide in a personalized, focused way. And they can provide therapeutic and cosmetic options like Botox and dermal fillers. Get to know them and all they have to offer by calling 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
That's Advanced Dentistry Now, 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus next-day energy with melatonin plus extended-release B vitamins.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Should we still trust our medical establishment right now?
The quick answer is no.
That's where I'm at.
My faith is fading.
Yep. And I know there's a separate question as to, do you trust your doctor?
Right. I think, yeah, I take that as a separate question.
It's like, do you trust Congress?
No.
Do you like your Congress critter? That answer
well,
changes.
For me, that's no.
Right. I know, but it's like, but those are two separate questions.
Yeah, they are two separate questions.
But you look at the last few years, I've lost faith.
Yeah.
In the medical establishment, and the good doctors out there have looked at me when I say that, and they go, "I get it, I get it." I've canceled appointments. You know, just in the last week, I've canceled 2 appointments with surgeons. You know, saying I'm done with some of your policies. So at 8:04, Alan Lash, who's one of the writers at the Brownstone Institute, is going to be on with us and give us his take on that. He's got an interesting op-ed at brownstoneinstitute.org. I think it is.
Yeah, I think so.
And
good
so
site, by the way. Good site.
And so he's going to be with us at 8:04.
By the way, I think maybe we need to separate the ivory tower from the family practitioner.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of what we were saying. It's like, you know, it's a different question to say I don't trust the establishment versus I don't trust my personal.
Right.
Know, it's like, you know.
Well, I picked a primary care physician based on the fact that they're rejecting the narratives from the establishment.
Yep. I think there you go.
You know, they don't require masks. They think the rules were stupid. They recognize openly how dumb those were and how ineffective they were. And I'm like, okay, so you're actually serious about facts.
Yes.
They don't have a fancy building. They don't have marble everywhere. They don't have ATMs all over. They've got a family practice in St. Charles. So that's a drive from out of my way from Richmond Heights, but worth it. So 8:04, we'll have that conversation. All right, I'm Mike. That's Gabe. That's Del. All right, last few minutes here. Get this. There was a survey done by something called Insurance Rankings, I guess is what that's short for. And it says most adults under the age of 40 say they still don't have a handle on the whole adulting thing, Gabe.
Yeah, I can't even with these people. as the kids also say, I literally can't even.
Why are they so odd? Because they can't even.
They can't even. Exactly.
Okay, so they polled 1,000 millennial and Gen Zers, and that's 18 to 42.
Wow.
Okay.
Millennials are older.
57% said they don't have a handle on the whole adulting thing.
Oh my gosh.
80% of Gen Zers said that, and half of millennials said that.
Now, what counts as adulting? I guess maybe is that addressed?
Okay, so 63% says they cannot change their own oil in their car if they had to.
Well, yeah. To be fair, some of these cars make it very difficult.
48% said they can't change a tire.
Okay, that's a problem.
42% cannot jumpstart a car.
Oh, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Those are the simplest things to do.
Yeah, those are pretty easy.
Okay, It gets worse.
Oh no.
46% say they don't know how to tie a tie, guys.
What? Oh my gosh. I think this is.
Yes, it's a real shame.
Wow. Okay. All right, Siri.
Thank
Shut
you,
up.
Siri.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a real shame that I think this is a crisis of fatherlessness. I mean, honestly, if half of the current adults don't know these things, it's because they were never shown them.
Mm-hmm.
And who usually shows you how to do these things?
Your dad.
I learned all of those things from my dad.
Do you know how to sew up a hole to patch something on your shirt or jeans or something?
Yes.
Okay, well, 41% of this age group can't.
They eliminated home ec from school.
They did, yeah. That's
I
right.
remember because that's where I learned to sew.
Yeah. Here's something that's really scary, keeping in mind that this age group that was surveyed goes up to the age of 42. A third of them don't know how to change a diaper, cannot change a diaper.
What? A third?
A third.
Now, is it just because they're childless?
Does it matter?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
you know what? That's a good point. I learned how to change a diaper
Yeah.
when I was pretty young. I got my first niece when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I learned how to change a diaper real quick.
12% say they can't iron something. They don't know how to use an ironing board and an iron.
Come on, guys. Oh my gosh.
We are in perpetual adolescence at some point.
It's worse because I keep thinking about all these things. I knew these things when I was in middle school.
Yes.
All of them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And you hate to point a finger, but I'm afraid I have to look at the parental structure that we're dealing with in the country.
You're not wrong.
Somebody didn't teach them.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
We just got done talking about some bad stuff that people are being taught.
Boy.
How about stuff that's not? But these are basic life skills. And so 30-somethings and 40-somethings are like, I don't know how to adult.
Balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Personal finance is a big one here. They don't know how to do it.
Boy.
Way to go, America.
News, analysis, opinion.
The FBI has assessed the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan.
This is News Talk STL.
My plan is going to reduce the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years.
The only way I know how to improve the president's budget is with a shredder.
Russian aircraft engaged in unprofessional practices.
Another reckless act by President Putin. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's local.
And newstalkstl.com.
Hey, Pocket Watchers. By now, I know you heard that the IRS is hiring 87,000 more agents. What does that mean? More collections, more audits. If you have a tax problem, unfiled tax returns, a large tax bill that you can't handle, give my office a call, 314-776-9076. I have years of experience of representing clients before the IRS to resolve tax problems. So stop hiding. Sticking your head in the sand is not going to make this go away. Give my office a call, 314-776-9076. Thornton Advisor Group is here to help you. Set up your free consultation to get an understanding of what's going on with your IRS case. Stop ignoring those letters. Give my office a call, 314-776-9076, or visit us online at thorntonadvisor.com.
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school can feel like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. FindSomethingNew.org offers resources that help develop new skills that can position you for careers in today's growing industries, from healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Find your path to a new career at FindSomethingNew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Playing the role of peacemaker, Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in Moscow on a 3-day visit that offers a strong political boost to Russia's Vladimir Putin as the fighting in Ukraine grinds on.
China and Russia have described Xi's visit as part of efforts to further deepen their no-limits friendship. The Kremlin's welcomed China's peace plan for Ukraine and says it'll be discussed during Putin-Xi talks over dinner on Monday. Beijing has called for a ceasefire, but Washington strongly rejects the idea as the effective ratification of the Kremlin's battlefield aims. China looks to Russia as a source of oil and gas for its energy-hungry economy and as a partner in opposing what both see as American domination of global affairs. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
There has been yet another missile test by North Korea, which says this time it simulated a nuclear attack. The North angry about ongoing U.S.-South Korea military exercises. It's the 5th missile firing by the North this month. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy among Republicans denouncing the potential indictment of former President Trump by the Manhattan DA, saying it's purely political. Meanwhile, no confirmation of Mr. Trump's prediction that he will be arrested this week.
The district attorney's office in Manhattan has not said when it expects to conclude its work or when or if Trump might be charged in the hush money payment investigation. Over the weekend, the former president claimed that he would be arrested on Tuesday, though police close to him later said that he had been given no updates from New York prosecutors.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures in positive territory right now. The Dow futures up 114 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 26. S&P futures 12 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
My brother-in-law died suddenly. Now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. I knew we could not put off getting life insurance. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $40 a month. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $18 a month.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161 or go to SelectQuote.com now. That's 1-800-940-6161. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold, in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
This is Rob with St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, and we'd like to let you know you don't have to maintain the grout in your home anymore. The grout on the floor or in your shower or bath area. How would you like zero grout in your bathroom? At St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, we focus on grout-free options for your bathroom. If you hate cleaning grout, St. Louis Bathroom Renovation, 314-477-6476. 314-477-6476. Give us a call.
The YMCA is just a starting line, for the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick below the surface. My why is diversity and unity. a safe space in my community, living with sincerity, giving every day my everything. With my why, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why. Learn more at ymca.org for a better us.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com. Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL. Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
For the most part, I think society has moved on from the COVID era lockdowns, the COVID era shutdowns, the COVID era mandates. And for the most part, we just simply are going on with our lives. I mean, occasionally you'll see somebody walking around with a mask, depending on where you are. And for the most part, people just kind of leave them alone. Everybody's got their own choice on this, except when you go into a facility that involves medicine. And this is having an interesting result. This is having an interesting impact. And I found an article at the Brownstone Institute's website, which really kind of resonated with me. It's called "Can We Still Trust the Doctors?" And it was written by Alan Lash, who joins me right now. And Alan, I reached out to you when I saw that article because, like I said, this really kind of resonated with me. We now know, and there will be people who argue with me, but the data is pretty clear that so many of these requirements, so many of these mandates, the masks and all that sort of thing, completely ineffective. And I'm being polite when I say that they were ineffective. They absolutely made no difference on anything. But the only places it seems that still insist on these ineffective, debunked rules are the people who should know the best on these things. And when you said, can we still trust the doctors? I said to myself, I've actually had that thought, and I still have that thought. These are the people I'm supposed to trust implicitly, and they won't acknowledge years of data now.
That's right. And, I started out the article talking about my own personal experience growing up, where in my family, that was the one person you did trust was your doctor and the nurses. You went in there and you just did what they said because, they had your best interests, in mind, and your health and your family's health. And, just my own personal experience going to the doctor last fall, I was curious, even like you mentioned the masks, but, also the vaccines. And I was stunned when I just asked the doctor, I said, hey, with all that's been going on and all the information that we've seen and heard, what would you say about the vaccines now? And he just repeated, safe and effective, right? And all the medical research he's read. And I just said, I was just astounded, and then of course, walking in with the masks and you got some of the, the people who are very aggressive about it. You try to let it slip, down a little bit so that you can actually see, the doctor can see your face and, somebody will yell at you to pull it back up again. And it's very troubling and upsetting because the way that we need to interact with doctors and nurses. I really wrote the article as an appeal to them to say, look, we need to trust you. This is too complicated for us to understand on our own. You have years and years of education and experience to deal with, physical problems that people have. And, we can't see nonsense like this in order to trust you.
I have unfortunately had to go through a couple of surgeries recently. So I've been to a variety of hospitals because of some issues I've had with my eye. And I've had people at 3 different hospitals tell me when I asked the question, so how long is this going to go on? And 3 of them just shrugged. One of them who agreed with you and I, but 3 of them all just kind of shrugged and said, no, this is probably the new thing. This is probably permanent. Just get used to it. It's probably not going away. And they said, well, but you got to understand, it's a medical facility. So you understand. And when I said, no, I don't, they were stunned that I pushed back.
I know. And I have a link. One of the references I have in my article is to another Brownstone article that lists 170 studies on masks that show you not only that they're ineffective, but that they're, harmful in many ways, especially for children. And it's astounding. And then the most recent one that came out, the Cochrane review, right? That's getting, slammed left and right now. Well, actually slammed left, not right. But, it's just after a couple of years, and there had been years before where people had done studies on masks and found that, they don't really work. But it's just really incomprehensible that these people who you want to trust and need to trust, many of them don't seem to understand that's a requirement for us to go see them. Like you just said, that if I don't trust you, what do I have to do? What do I have to do to understand my own healthcare?
We are visiting with Alan Lash, and his article at the Brownstone Institute's website is called "Can We Still Trust the Doctor?" Okay, so Alan, where do we go from here? Some facilities, I'm going to assume, are going to come back to reality at some point. Others may not. I don't know how it's going to be, but when it comes to trying to reestablish a trust for those of us who say, you're preaching science, but you're ignoring science, you're ignoring data, where do we go from here? Because this is an integral part of our lives. This is an integral part of our, frankly, economy in some area. But there is trust broken, I think, in more people than will admit it out loud. So where should we go from here?
Well, as I say, the article was it was an appeal to doctors and nurses. I suspect, at the very beginning, or it was probably the fall and winter, in 2021, that, there were many doctors and nurses that didn't want to take it anymore. So you had all of these retirements, this wave of retirements. But then there were the others, I think, who were just kind of laying low and, just kind of going along with the protocol. If they're with a big institution, then they, a medical organization, then, they have to also follow some of these bureaucratic rules. But I, as an appeal to those people, I would say, we really need to know that you are critically looking at many things, pharmaceutical products that, come from the, big pharma, that you need to look at these things critically to say, are they really going to help my patient? Not just, hey, there's a bunch of stats out there that show that, whatever, this drug's going to help 5% of the people who take it, and, versus 2% that were helped with the placebo, and so one of those things is we got to we have to get the feeling and the belief that they are being critical of these guys trying to sell drugs through them. And they have to be more honest about, what they think. When they think something's wrong, they got to tell us. And, and then help us make decisions for ourselves, critical decisions that we need to make, because it's just becoming impossible to do what we used to do, was just, take their advice without question.
Alan, do you think that this clinging to these mandates and rules and authority that they say they have within their walls, is that going to be the cause of other things? Or could this be a symptom maybe of some sort of ideological capture that's now caught up to the medical industry?
Well, that's a great question. And an article, previous one that you read, that I wrote a few months back, I was contemplating whether this was really a difference in worldviews, whether there's people like you and I, and probably many of your listeners, who think that healthcare should be done on an individual basis, that I am an individual and the doctor is going to consider me and what my problems or my unique needs might be. Whereas what we've seen in the last couple of years is it's like the prescriptions are coming down from on high somewhere, like, hey, everybody needs to take this drug, everybody needs to do this, regardless of who you are and your condition. So that's a great question, and one that I also asked out loud. What is it? Is it something that's deeper in our society that many people went along with it? In fact, they said, no, you have to go along. Alan, you have to do what everybody else is doing and what they're all saying, whether or not you think it's not right for you. And that's a distinct worldview difference. And I do wonder where it's going. I hope we get back to an understanding of individuals' needs and rights and those things.
Alan, I've got just a minute or so left. What could be some of the unintended consequences of sticking to these policies and these mandates in medical facilities? I mean, what could be some of the problems that come from this when people continue to not trust the doctors?
Well, one is kind of obvious, right? I mean, if they do have experience and they can't help us, then a lot of people won't be helped, right? And the trust will keep us away. You mentioned your own issues. It's keeping you away from perhaps some treatment that you need, and that's the first thing. I hope on the positive side, maybe unintended for these folks who are trying to cram this stuff down our throats, is that maybe we will find other alternatives. Maybe there will be, other doctors and nurses who say, hey, I'm breaking from this regime because this isn't right and this isn't what I signed up for.
All right, you can find the article, Can We Still Trust the Doctor, at brownstone.org, which is the Brownstone Institute's website. Alan, do you have a website or a social media anybody wants to connect with you and follow what you do?
I'm largely unconnected. Brownstone is the best way.
All right, Alan, thanks so much for being on. That's a really thought-provoking article. Appreciate you writing it and talking about it.
Thank you very much, Mike. You have a great day.
All right. I like what that guy just had to say. I think Alan made a lot of really good points right there. What's your take on it, especially if you've got some kind of connection to any sort of part of the medical industry? 314-912-1019. Want to know what your take is regarding what Alan had to say, what I had to say. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Either way, there's room for you to get your opinion on the air right here. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
On Monday, we'll review your broken brackets and what has Biden busted at 425 U.S. Senator Jim Talent, at 525 Susie Moore, Red State.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
It's time to spring into green with Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Don't miss this opportunity to save $2,000 and receive 0% financing on select John Deere compact tractor packages. Built to handle any challenges that lie ahead, choose from our All-American, Mississippi Queen, Bulldog, or Homesteader packages. Visit ascentpartners.com for more information. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 3/31/23. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
It's Proctor spelled like doctor for custom window fabrics and shutters. Upgrade or start from scratch. Either way, Michael is the St. Louis expert. Check him out at proctordrapery.com and then call Proctor spelled like doctor for shutters, shades, and draperies.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
A few years ago, Steve Faircow's lungs were failing.
I don't think I had more than a couple weeks to live.
That's when Steve received a lung transplant made possible by an organ donor. Now Steve can do things he never imagined, like climbing 94 floors to the top of a skyscraper.
I never knew that breathing could feel this good. It's an incredible gift.
What could you make possible as an organ, eye, and tissue donor? Leave behind the gift of life. Go to organdonor.gov, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Fox News commentary.
First they came for our gas stoves, and now our washing machines. Well, come and take it, Joe. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Inflation is nothing more than legalized theft. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and to preserve your wealth, I highly recommend keeping physical gold in your retirement account. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold, which is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
They came after our gas stoves, and now the administration's climate change police has its sights set on your washing machines, folks. Biden's Department of Energy proposed new efficiency standards for washing machines that will require them to use less water, all to fight climate change. But leading manufacturers are crying foul, saying these new guidelines will reduce washing performance. You know, the whole point of the machine in the first place. Washing cycles would take longer, detergent will cost more, and clothes will ultimately be less clean. And all for what? So the administration can appease Big Green. This is not for the environment, folks. This is another example of government overreach and government control. But we won't and will not ever wear dirty clothes to appease Big Green Joe. Not gonna happen. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, Donald Trump says he's going to be arrested this week. Yeah, we'll talk about that in more depth at 8:35, but I got the basic details here in just a minute, Stell.
You got the details on the arrest. Okay, good.
That might happen
Okay.
or might not happen, or to some degree I don't know. Oh, man, I do know that it's got basically the whole country kind of in a little more of a tense moment, so we'll get to that in a minute. Also, Team USA relying heavily on Redbirds to advance to the World Championship. I freaking love the World Baseball Classic. Absolutely love it. It's a game of baseball that Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred has not managed or found a way to ruin yet.
Give them time.
I know.
But in the meantime, yeah, it is fun to see the
It's
teams.
so much fun. Absolutely. 8:21 right now. That's Del Ponticus. My name is Mike Ferguson. All right, Donald Trump kicked off a firestorm over the weekend, saying that he is going to be arrested this week, possibly as soon as tomorrow. There's no confirmation of that at the moment, but there's no denial of it from the New York DA that was mentioned by Trump either. Mike Pence was on ABC's This Week, and he was asked about that possibility.
I'm taken aback at the idea of indicting a former president of the United States at a time when there's a crime wave in New York City. That the fact that the Manhattan DA thinks that indicting President Trump is his top priority, I think, just tells you everything you need to know about the radical left in this country.
And Donald Trump says if he's arrested, he wants protests nationwide. At 8:35, I'll tell you why I disagree with that and don't think you should take the bait. But I know people have different perspectives on this. And all of this goes back to the Stormy Daniels situation and, Michael Cohen and the so-called hush money that was paid out to regarding the tryst between the porn star and Donald Trump way before he was in the presidency.
I kind of thought we were past this already, but I guess not. I guess Bragg wants to keep it going.
You would think after all these years, because it's not like, as we talked to Susie Moore a little bit earlier today, it's not like people don't know about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this actually entail? I don't know. This could absolutely blow over. They could take it into a court or a judge, and the judge would go, "What are you talking about? You got to show the crime here." Or somebody could make a big deal. The courts could buy. I don't know. I mean, it's possible that Donald Trump is not getting arrested this week. It's possible that he is, I guess, being ordered to turn himself in. I don't know. But when Donald Trump put that post up on his Truth Social, that really set off the firestorm, like I said. So 8:35. Let's go to more depth at 8:35. All right, a little closer to home here. About 2,000 people gathered in the Owensville High School gym on Sunday, and that was for the memorial services for Herman Detective Sergeant Mason Griffith. And it wasn't just that jurisdiction that he worked in. He actually worked in at least one other. So he was involved in law enforcement in multiple communities.
He was a police chief in Rosebud.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people didn't realize that because sometimes these towns are so small, they've got one or two people and or two or three people, and he was the chief there. Young guy, is in his 30s, and then obviously I'm guessing his full-time job with Herman Police Department as well. Griffith, as you know, was killed in the line of duty about a week ago.
A week ago yesterday.
Yeah, and it was both the visitation and the funeral, and they were just the turnout was going to be so large they needed to do it at the high school gym.
And it was a great turnout, and it was really a celebration of Mason's life. And his superior mentioned that he had made a commitment to Christ in the past month, which was great to hear, and that his life had really been changed, and he could really see the change in Mason's life and in his attitudes. So that was nice to hear. The turnout was awesome. It was really a celebration of Mason's life. And Kathy, my wife, was part of the crew that helped out with the meals afterwards, which turned out to be a really nice finish to the day. So with all the people who were out there, I think the families were very grateful to see everyone.
Yeah, and hopefully they can find some peace through all this. Anytime that you have somebody who's in emergency services, particularly police, in your family, you've always got that
in the back of your mind.
This could happen.
Yeah.
You would think in small towns like this, it's never going to happen. But just a reminder that they sign up for an incredibly dangerous job that most other people don't ever face. The dangers that most other people don't face. So hopefully now the prosecutors take it from here and lock up his killer for as long as we can possibly lock that guy up. A St. Louis alderwoman. This is interesting. St. Louis alderwoman says that her opponent should not be allowed on the ballot. Yeah. 11th Ward alderwoman Laura Keyes is actually suing over Carla Coffey. She's known as Coffey. Carla Coffey Wright's place on the April ballot. Keyes claims that Wright is lying about her residence and that she actually doesn't live in the district.
It's not fair to the people of this city that someone should be able to run in a race who is not qualified.
And in the lawsuit, as part of the lawsuit, and if you want to see more about that story, just go to KMOV.com. But in that lawsuit, they say that the home, the address that Carla Coffey Wright is claiming as her residency in the district hasn't even had water service hooked up to it since 2007. If that is true, if that's true, because I don't know if it's for sure if it's true or not, but if it's true and the paperwork was falsified, then you do have an actual legal case on this, but the Board of Election Commissioners has no authority to actually just remove somebody from the ballot. It has to come from a judge to order somebody off the ballot or leave them on. So weird situation. Very interesting one, nonetheless. All right, the Missouri legislature goes back to work this week as their spring break is over. Multiple reports say now, and we talked to State Representative Tony Lavasco about this a little bit ago. Multiple reports say that the effort to eliminate sales taxes on groceries is now stalling because of opposition from some Republicans. Republicans blocking a tax cut on groceries. So those Republicans, including Lincoln Huff, and they're backed by a lot of the local municipalities. They say, well, that would cost local and state governments too much money and revenue. Now, keep in mind, our inflation is out crazy right now, and they're apparently more worried about cities and states having enough money when the state government in particular has a largesse that's basically a record for the state of Missouri. By the way, only 13 states in total in this country even charge a sales tax on groceries. The others get by just fine without it. A sales tax on groceries hurts the poor the worst. So get rid of the sales tax. Stop worrying more about government than you do about working families. All right, finally, back to my World Baseball Classic discussion here. Team USA, really glad to have a lot of Cardinals on it this year for the World Baseball Classic. With the starting lineup last night, including the pitcher, 1/3 of Team USA were St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, isn't that great?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mentioned that to my wife, and my wife's not really a big sports person. I said, 1/3 of Team USA starters are the Cardinals. And she didn't even miss a beat. She goes, because we're awesome. That's all she said. Paul Goldschmidt hit a 2-run home run to give the United States the first lead of the game. Nolan Arenado tripled later in the game, driving in Paul Goldschmidt. Adam Wainwright was the starting pitcher. Had a little bit of a tough first inning. He did give up 1 run. He pitched the first 4 innings of the game, gave up 1 run in that first inning, got himself out of it after that. But he actually got the win. In the case, USA beat Cuba 14-2. Wainwright, like I said, pitched 4 innings And who came in to pitch the next 4 innings? Miles Michaelis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. The U.S. advances to the championship game against the winner of tonight's game between Mexico and Japan. And I also want to note that it is, I think, significant that Team Cuba was playing in Miami.
Yeah, I found that very interesting.
Yeah, and of course there are so many Cuban Americans in that part of Florida, and they were jeering Team Cuba. They were not cheering for Team Cuba. They were making their voices known what they think of the Cuban government, unfortunately taking it out on the ball players. But Team Cuba playing in the United States. I don't think it's geopolitically significant, but I think it's really kind of cool that they were doing there.
Do you have any idea when the last time might have been that they played here?
Boy, that's a great question.
Because my first thought would have been defectors from the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are lots of defectors.
If there would have been any this time around, I know there were in the past whenever Cuban teams would come to the States.
But when was the last time that an actual Team Cuba or Cuban-sanctioned athlete was participating
in an event in the U.S.?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, it would have been shortly after the Castro regime took over, which was the 60s.
You know what my first baseball memory is? I'm being totally honest with you. I'm going back to the 50s here. As a little kid, 5, 6 years old, one of my very earliest memories, because I don't remember anything before then. Maybe because I only spoke Greek before I was 5. But it was watching black and white broadcasts of U.S. teams playing Cuban teams on TV in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, teams in Havana. U.S. teams would go to Havana and play there, and some of the other cities in Cuba. That was obviously before the government overthrow. And speaking of countries and flags, a caller just mentioned, and he was wondering if you had noticed this, the flag is, I guess, backwards in the top right corner of the TV screen. And he was a little miffed by that because he said, why can't they put it in the top left-hand corner and have the flag correctly positioned? And I think he meant that it was maybe facing to the left instead of
the stars.
And
I thought, I'm going to be really honest. I didn't notice. I'm going to go look up the video now because I'm curious about that.
And maybe watch the next game and see where they position it on the screen.
Yeah, because I don't recall offhand when the championship game is. It is this week because they have to have this done before the Major League Baseball season begins. But yeah, that's curious. I'm not sure why they did that. Now, a lot of times when it's on your sleeve, they actually lead with the stars. You know, and a lot of people say, "Wait a minute, that's not the way that looks backwards." But you're actually supposed to do that on uniforms in certain situations.
And maybe that's the reason why it shows up like that on the screen.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, you know, honestly, I didn't notice. So I will check that out. That's an interesting thing. Good catch by whoever called in for that.
I think Tom. I think it was
Tom.
Okay,
thanks, Tom. All right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead here. Will Donald Trump be arrested this week? I don't know. If he is, what's your reaction? And if, as he's asking for people to protest around the country, are you down for that? My argument is don't take the bait on it, but that's just what I think. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Let me know. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold morning out there on this first day of spring with the equinox this afternoon at 4:24, but it's going to warm up a little bit more like spring today on southerly winds, mainly sunny skies. 59 degrees for the high today. Overnight lows not as cold in the 30s, upper 30s in St. Louis, with rain on tap tomorrow. 49 degrees the high, and there will be more rain and thunderstorms this week. It's going to be a wet one. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
When it's important to you, stay informed. It's on News Talk STL.
And if you put me back in the White House, COVID-19.
Department of Energy, FBI says it came from a lab.
The president's budget.
Raise more taxes, spends more money.
MAGA Republican.
Our banking system is sound.
Unsafe actions by Russian pilots.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Twitter was basically an FBI subsidiary. If the alarm bells are not going off,
1019 and 94.1,
then you're not paying attention.
News Talk STL.
Guess who's in my house today, Sal?
Let me guess. Some folks with trucks lined up all around your block.
Yes. Anton's.
That's them.
Back in my house today. Anton's did such a great job with the HVAC system my wife and I bought earlier this year. We needed central air for our upstairs floor of our house. They did a fantastic job, great dollar for dollar value, and their follow-up has been absolutely spectacular. So I bought the HVAC from them, and they followed up to say, hey, let's proactively just keep that thing maintained. Let's come in, let's check it. And I went, you just put it in. They're like, yeah, but we want to check it with everybody. Wasn't a big thing to come in and, they weren't writing me up a new bill. They didn't find 10 things wrong with it. Oh, you got to buy this and this. Nope. They said, hey, looks great. It's working great. You're all set for the spring and the summer. What a relief that is, because you remember how hot it got during several times last summer, 100 degrees plus. We're upstairs. We live in a brick building, a brick house like most people. Those window units trying to keep up with it. I'm not doing that again. That's why I called Anton's Plumbing and HVAC, 314-338-3941. They came in, installed that HVAC unit, could not be happier with it. And they were so good at it when we decided to do a renovation of our bathroom. I said, what, Anton's does plumbing as well. And they are handling the entire plumbing job and just doing a fantastic job. So 314-338-3941. You can learn more at antonshvac.com as well. Today is the first day of spring. That's great. We know those hot temperatures are coming around. Call them today at 314-338-3941 and set up your air conditioning tune-up. Only $79. They can keep that thing running, whether they put it in or not. Doesn't matter. They'll come in, check it, make sure it's running, make sure you don't have any problems that could cause it to conk out on you when you need it the most. What a good investment. And you're going to see not just how good they are, how ethical they are, but why this is a company you want to do business with, why I want to do business with them. So call them today, 314-338-3941. Do what I do. Trust them with the air conditioning and heating in your home. One of the best decisions my wife and I have made over the last year or so with our house. 314-338-3941 or antonshvac.com.
Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, firestorm started over the weekend. Donald Trump posted on True Social that he is going to be arrested this week. Arrested.
Sounds like he's got it on his daily planner.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got Tuesday here. All right, I'll put down they arrest me.
Oh, my goodness. Now, whether that's going to happen, I don't know. But obviously, anything with Donald Trump is lightning rod. And a lot of Republicans are speaking out, even some who don't necessarily agree with him on a lot of stuff that aren't exactly on Team Trump. I think a lot of people are seeing this for what it is. It's just plain old politics. Townhall.com's Brady Seabolt brings the basic update and also the reaction from a lot in the GOP.
Among those coming to Mr. Trump's defense, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who says a possible indictment would be an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against the former president. The House Speaker says he would direct relevant GOP-led House committees, quote, to immediately investigate if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions, unquote. Brady Seabolt reporting.
Okay, so I think that this is it's pretty clear to me that this is really about politics. And I found on Fox News Live, this was interesting. They had New York Republican Party Chairman Ed Cox. That's a busy guy right now between this and George Santos. That guy's pretty busy. Mm-hmm. He was asked about the possible indictment. Now, we do know that there is some grand jury activity that could lead to indictment. We do know that is happening. They have actually invited Donald Trump to come testify before the grand jury, which is something that often happens before an indictment is handed down. It doesn't mean that there will be an indictment handed down, but it is clear that something is happening, but that's really all we know. So Chairman Ed Cox has this response to the effort by DA Brigg and some of the others.
That's Trump derangement syndrome at work. I mean, they're grandstanding on it. They haven't looked at the case. They don't understand it.
He's not wrong. Still, I mean, even for those who don't like Donald Trump, you got to admit that this is TDS.
It's almost as though New York City and New York State has their own radio and TV outlets that are WTDS. And we'll just broadcast this stuff 24/7. And it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, because yesterday there were already protesters lining the streets in New York City. So whether something happens nationwide, I certainly hope not. I hope folks sit back and just let things, progress over these next few days. Don't jump to any conclusions here. Don't do something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's follow up on that. 314-912-1019. My argument is don't take the bait. Okay, because I think to some degree this is what it is. I mean, you think about, we were all caught off guard with the Mar-a-Lago thing. None of us saw that coming. I mean, that surprised us. FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. This is something that hadn't happened before, and the entire country, even those who really aren't now the partisan leftists, were like, yeah, go get him, because they're like, Trump for prison, just like, kind of Republicans like Hillary for prison. And they use this hyperbolic sort of statement. And a lot of people saw this around the country and they kind of went, wait a minute, you're doing what to a former president? Because remember, there's a whole bunch of the country who shows up for elections on election years, big election years, and then they check back out and go back to their lives. And they may, have a generally good or bad feeling, but they don't have the intensity of the Republican and Democratic bases. And they saw that news story, and I think a lot of them went, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel right. And they may be somebody who doesn't like Donald Trump, but they still went, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't feel right to go in and raid the home of a former president. And so all that Donald Trump and his sort of MAGA community needed to do was step back and just let the spotlight be shined on that, and the country saw it for what it is. And you've noticed that that's disappeared from the headlines and from the legal activity on the left. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best tactic in this case right here, and I think Donald Trump's making a mistake calling for nationwide protests for this. I think that if he is indicted over the hush money to Stormy Daniels and the whole Michael Cohen thing, which is a complete and utter mess to start with. She filed for defamation of character. She lost the lawsuit. She had to pay his lawyers to reimburse him. Michael Cohen went to jail over, among other things, this handling of these monies and these payments to Stormy Daniels, which did happen, and you can, people can debate what the specifics of it were for, but that's what it appears to be. But this is all from 2016. It's not like we didn't know about this stuff in the past. And so I think the smartest thing to do is roll your eyes and move on and let them throw their hissy fit, because I think for the most part, the country looks at the left and they look at this district attorney. You brought up Letitia James a little bit earlier from the state of New York, and you look at all of them constantly going after Donald Trump. These are also people who go after the NRA and they go after groups like that. And people see it for what it is. Even if they are not on the conservative side of things, people still see it for what it is. So my argument is don't take the bait. I think what they want are big, angry protests where anything could set it off and end up turning into a mess or some kind of even small level of chaos, and then you've fallen into their trap.
I think most conservatives understand this to be the MO of the Democratic Party and the MO of the left, the MO of the press. We've got, in my estimation, in my opinion, a Pravda-style press here. Most folks may not be old enough to remember Pravda in the Soviet Union back in the day, but they essentially reiterated everything that the government said. There was no free press even though Pravda means truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ironic thing about it. I think if folks would lay back for a week or two, and if things get really gnarly, then okay, then maybe you can go ahead and start your protest. But the fact that there were thousands of people already in New York City yesterday, I thought, don't jump the gun here yet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what transpires, because I don't think they've got any legal standing to take this thing to where they think it's going to go.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it, just if nothing else, for the statute of limitations. We talked to Susie Moore from RedState.com earlier, who is an attorney, by the way. And what is not debatable is that what they are talking about as far as, the financial classifications of the paperwork and stuff like that, that statute of limitations has been gone for years. So let's even, just for the sake of arguments, let's even just assume, pardon me, that Donald Trump illegally funneled the hush money to Stormy Daniels to get her to not talk about their tryst, okay? To not talk about whatever it is that they had for however long it was. That statute of limitations has run out. Even if they amend it to try to do something else, to make it another classification of a criminal charge, that statute of limitations, according to Susie and according to others, Jonathan Turley, some of the others, said that's run out. Now, would that look bad for Donald Trump to say, okay, so we got away with it because the statute of limitations ran out? Well, maybe, but again, we've known about this. We knew about Karen McDougal. We knew about Stormy Daniels. He's been, not exactly hiding from his behaviors over his 3 marriages. I mean, so it's not like this is new information. And so they can try to do the gotcha type thing, but the rest of the country is like, yeah, we knew about that already. And so I again like to agree with what you're saying, Stell. I don't know where they're going to go with it legally. I think that this is more of a bait maneuver, and it's an abuse of the criminal justice process to try to bait people for a political outcome and a political gain.
I can understand the bait aspect of it, and I would agree with you on that. It's as though they're tossing a worm in the lake here to see what bites from the right side.
Yeah, and honestly, I think one of the most effective things that Donald Trump's core base of supporters, let's just call it the MAGA base, one of the best things that they could possibly do is just sit back and go, no, you go ahead and do your thing. You're going to look foolish, and we're just going to let you look foolish. We're not going to distract. We don't want to compete for the TV camera time. We don't want to compete for that. You just go ahead and do stupid stuff and let people see that this really is just TDS. It's just Trump derangement syndrome. That's really all this is. It is. It appears to be absolute nonsense. So let them do their nonsense. People get it. People see it. Even those who don't necessarily like Donald Trump. Now, your hardcore leftist, nothing's going to satisfy them. Let them throw a fit. That's their thing. Don't take the bait. Agree? Disagree? Take time to get your thoughts in on it. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Columbo and Katie.
Monday, Tony Colombo is back from Disney World, and we'll catch up with him on what exactly he did, what did he see, what rides did he ride with James, and how was it visiting DeSantis land.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Let's welcome back to the show Scott Shepard. Let's not be so harsh on Pete Buttigieg, okay? He does sit for the pictures for the cover of Mad Magazine, so give the guy a break.
That's true. I really do hope that he's a wonderful dad.
Well, he's a better dad than me. I can't breastfeed.
I think you win today.
Yep, he does.
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Big weekend for downtown St. Louis.
It was very busy.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it just with the sports alone. The soccer team, they first of all, they won again. That's the first time in MLS history, as I understand it, that an expansion team has won their first 4 games.
Correct.
So they're 4-0.
Yeah.
And the Battlehawks had another really good turnout.
35,000 plus?
Over 35,000, yeah. And that's the first game. The opening game was 38,000, but still 35,000. I'm going to admit, still, I'm surprised that was the turnout.
I would have thought it would have been more 28 to 30.
Yep.
I was not expecting 35.
That's exactly what I thought. I thought 25 to low, maybe 30-ish is what I thought it would be. But a really big turnout. Unfortunately, the Battlehawks lost. The DC Defenders is the only team that's beaten them so far, and they've beaten them twice. So Battlehawks are now 3-2. But a brawl didn't break out at the end of this game like it did last time these two teams played. So that was, that's really encouraging. Now they're on kind of opposite ends of downtown St. Louis.
But you had not only those two events, but also Toby Mack, Christian artist, was at Enterprise Center last night.
He's got a big following.
And he has usually a great crowd,
Yeah.
probably, I'm guessing, 10 to 12,000 at least.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So combine the three.
That was on Saturday night as
Yes.
well? Oh, that's a lot of events.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I'm guessing parking was tough.
Oh, yeah. Well, parking isn't great in downtown anyway. It's not bad up on this side where we are of downtown by the soccer stadium. But, man, you get into the Dome area, man, parking is not fun. My advice, find parking in a place you feel comfortable and safe and then take an Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, that would be the way to go.
Yeah, and the Blues won last night. And so actually the Blues have won, 4 of their last 6 games. So they're not really on a roll or a streak, but they're at least stable, and they're not on a losing streak, which for this season is pretty good at this point. Cardinals, I would say Cardinals look great as far as spring training, but it's hard to say when you've got so many of their stars on Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. But by the way, Nolan Arenado hit with a pitch, and so he was actually hurting. I don't know if he's going to be in the championship game. I would think that he is because it looks like he's not. Nothing's broken.
Where'd he get hit?
I think it was a hand. Like Jose Altuve got hit from the Astros 4 or 5 days ago, broke his thumb and has to have surgery on it, so he's out for weeks.
Oh, man.
That's one of the things where for a little while, there was a little bit of a tenuous relationship between Major League Baseball and the World Baseball Classic because people want the World Baseball Classic. And Major League Baseball says, okay, yeah, but you can't have it after our season or at the end of our season when our guys are beaten up for 162 games. You can do it preseason, and that was a compromise. But then even then they're saying, man,
you still have a risk injury.
You still have a risk of injury.
Boy.
But are you listening to some of these ball players? They not only are taking this seriously, this is a big source of pride. They love playing in the World Baseball Classic.
That's great to see.
I think
great to
it
hear.
is.
Yeah.
And they're playing by actual baseball rules, not Rob Manfred rules.
Not the revised rules? Oh, they're playing the true.
They're playing baseball.
Nice.
Yes, not Manfred ball. Rob Manfred being the commissioner of baseball who hates the game of baseball, in my opinion. But no, it's interesting because, for instance, you look at some of the unique things that are happening with each country really leaning into their national identities. For instance, Italy in their pool play, I'm not making this up still. They had an espresso machine in the dugout.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
To get yourself an Italian espresso.
Nice.
The Great Britain, the British team, they were incredibly boring in their uniforms. See, cultural, fidelity.
But the tea and crumpets in the dughouse was a nice idea.
That's right. Yeah, they should have done that. But what was funny is like when they had a really good play, unfortunately a lot of teams like come up with their own hand gesture or whatever. And I frankly don't like that. I'm old school enough in baseball. I don't like that kind of showing off. Mm-hmm. But theirs literally was pretending to drink a cup of tea. That's their thing. USA just has the USA thing. South Korea really ticked off Japan because they were playing in the pool that's playing in the Tokyo Dome, which is kind of a legendary arena for sports and concerts and all kinds of stuff. And they won a game and ran out there and planted the Korean flag on the pitcher's mound in Tokyo.
Whoa.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Not good, guys. Don't do that.
Whoa.
I mean, Ichiro Suzuki is, helping to run Team Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And the look on his face. Now, keep in mind, South Korea and Japan, their history of not getting along goes back, about 70 years at this point since World War II. But, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, that's not good. You win the game, you get your flag out, wrap yourself in it. Okay, great. But to plant it on your opponent's pitcher's mound, no. Guys, don't do that. Don't do that. But I love the passion. Of it. It's been a lot. And there have been so many upsets and surprises. I am stunned that Puerto Rico got beat, got eliminated. Absolutely stunned. That was, to me, I thought one of the best, if not the best overall talent lineup in the World Baseball Classic. And I thought that Puerto Rico would be up against the U.S. in the semifinals, and I didn't actually like our chances against that lineup, but here USA going to the championship. And so Mexico and Japan play tonight. The winner of that plays the United States for the World Baseball Classic Championship. And then we're off to the regular season.
I have to admit, I did not expect the U.S. to beat Cuba 14-2.
Oh, yeah. And they actually have a run rule. So 14-2 is a 10-run rule. That's a mercy rule in WBC. That's another one of the concessions to Major League Baseball. Yeah, I did not expect 14-2. There's a very rich baseball tradition in Cuba. I mean, everywhere in Latin America, everywhere in Central America, there's a big baseball tradition. And, Cuba obviously just in over their head. But you look at the U.S., 3 of the starters are Cardinals. National League MVP, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, who could have easily been the National League MVP as well, and Adam Wainwright, who's just had such a legendary career. And so the Cardinals, there are 4 Cardinals on that team who could end up with a world championship before the season even starts.
And as a Caribbean side note, was Yachty the manager of the Dominican team?
Of the Dominican, no. I think he was manager of Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah, so he his first World Baseball Classic didn't go the way that they had planned for it to go. But he's still got a very bright managing
Yes, he
career
does.
ahead if he
my
wants
goodness,
it.
yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way here in about 5.5 minutes. Wonder if he's got some thoughts on the whole Trump indictment thing.
He may have a couple of thoughts.
He might. Hang around here, 1019-94.1 News Talk STL to see what Vic thinks about that.
Coming up on 9 a.m. in Mid-America, welcome home.
The latest news.
Do we have operational control of the border?
Yes, we do.
Does DHS have operational control?
No, sir. It is so profoundly offensive.
What took place at Silicon Valley Bank?
Recent bank failures.
Our banking system is sound.
The news you need to know.
Unsafe actions by Russian pilots.
This was international space. We had every right to be there.
And the place to talk about it.
He was trying to cover his backside, and everybody knows it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
High school sports don't just happen. There's a ton of work that goes into every single athletic event.
And we have our school's athletic director to thank for a lot of it. Thank you.
For scheduling officials, so I can always play the game I love.
For ordering quality athletic equipment, so I can stay safe on the field.
For mentoring my coaches, so they can be the best role models for me.
For coordinating transportation, so I can get focused for the big game.
For helping us develop character, and learn lessons that will benefit us for the rest of our lives.
Thank you to our AD for always creating a positive experience for us. We'll never forget it.
From all of us at the NIAAA, thank you to every athletic administrator in Missouri for all you do to enrich the lives of your students. It does not go unnoticed. This message presented by the NIAAA, the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Mystic Fix is sponsored by Kama Flight, redefining the dance between the masculine and feminine. Kama Flight is a somatic movement practice merging yoga, meditation, and massage. Workshops in 2023 are at the Chosen Retreat Center in Sebastian, Florida. For more, visit Kama Flight on Instagram at KAMAFLIGHT.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. With former President Trump having predicted his arrest this week in a New York investigation, a grand jury expects to hear from a key witness in the case.
Bob Costello, a lawyer who worked with Michael Cohen and is now a Trump ally, could make the case the former president should not face criminal charges over hush money payments to women, including Stormy Daniels, during his 2016 campaign. That's according to someone who insisted on anonymity. Over the weekend, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg sent an email to staffers ensuring their safety, saying his office would not be intimidated, but not referencing Trump. That came after the former president told supporters he'd be